Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome along to the GLL Masters Spring. Now, I am lucky enough to be joined by a very handsome man, an esports legend, an icon, and someone that I haven't seen or spoken to in far too long. It is, of course, Andy Dudinsky. And Andy, we've got two semi-finals for North America to bring everybody at home today. Across the next 2 days, we've got 12 games of action, but we're going to be focusing on one group for the next 2 days. I am excited to have you back alongside me, friend. Been too long.
I'm so excited to be here. Great to be back with another GLL event. Great to be back casting with you, of course, my long lost duo. And man, oh man, do we have a ton of great teams in the semifinal, but I think it's safe to say one of them is a bit more stacked. And as you started to talk about, we're going to be following that one for these next 2 days mostly, but of course, we'll be giving you updates across both semifinals throughout the days. But I can't wait to get into the matches because there is a powerhouse list of teams coming into these semifinals.
There really is. I think every single big team that we wanted to be involved is still involved at this stage. As you would expect, getting through to the semi-finals, a little bit of a different look to what we normally would do with the competition. We're not looking at first place. We're looking at that top 10, and this is going to be the schedule. You can see today we're going to bring in you those first 6 games. They'll be kicking off every so often, as close to those times as we can possibly imagine. And then, Andy, we go into day 2, where we'll finally decide who that top 10 is.
Yeah, just 12 games here today for this today and tomorrow across the semifinals, 6 games each day. And of course, once we get into those finals, you'll see even longer game counts. But as you alluded to, Mark, a lot of times when we jump into these tournaments, I actually saw a few replies to your tweet on Twitter saying, holy crap, this is being casted, the semifinals, and pretty exciting news for North America. We do have semifinals coverage, which is fantastic. So it's going to be cool to be able to see which top 10 are going to be able to come out of each lobby today. It's going to be pretty tight.
And when those top 10 from both lobbies that do come together will be in that final, and they will be playing for this prize pool in front of you. $100,000, $15K going to first place, so a decent amount of change going to the winner, of course, and all the way down to 5th place. And then, Andy, a classic ALGS point system in place here for this tournament.
Yes, indeed. Everything that you'll come to expect in competitive Apex is going to be here on display. And on that note, so much that we're expecting here from this event, just because coming off of the ALGS Winter Circuit playoffs, we had some interesting results. We're seeing more legends picked than ever before, more legend variety in the matches, of course. Weapon meta getting interesting as well, maybe with the exception of the Spitfire, but it's going to be a pretty awesome a set of matches here today. And like we said, it's a pretty stacked lobby, but also in these semifinals, we also have a lot of unsigned teams. So you and I, as we were reviewing the teams and taking a look at things, we're kind of agreeing there's definitely an opportunity for some unsigned teams here to make a pretty big statement and get into that top 10, maybe even make a statement in the semifinals here.
Oh, absolutely, especially in the second lobby. One of the lobbies that we're going to be looking at right now is very stacked, and this is the lobby that we're going to be following for the next 2 days of action. You just look at some of these names. You've got Counter Logic Gaming, you've got NRG, you've got Sentinels, you've got TSM Space Station. So many huge names to talk about in this lobby, Andy. This is almost a finals lobby in itself.
And what's wild is you just mentioned all those teams, and we didn't even talk about Peanut Butter Sandwiches yet, who are playing really well. Excited to see what those guys can do. Also, Cruelty Team in this lobby as well, HRN. So this really is a stacked lobby. Of course, in the other lobby, you've got the likes of Team Liquid and many others that we're going to be following along with as well. But for these GLL Masters tournaments, we do see the biggest and the best teams come out, and no surprise to see them all here today as well.
And as you can see in this lobby as well, there's so many big names in there, big teams who have performed so well that it could be the occasion that we have an upset and potentially one of those teams not getting into that top 10. And this is, of course, the second lobby that we were just mentioning, the likes of Complexity in there. Like you mentioned, Team Liquid, Solar Fide, SCN as well, all ALGS championship winning teams. The caliber of Apex at this point, Andy, in North America really seems to have hit new heights recently.
Yeah, it really has, especially if you caught the ALGS Winter Circuit playoffs and exactly what went down there. You had a lot of great matches in those games. Like we said, we're seeing a lot more variety just due to meta shifts and due to the past few patches. And NA definitely is in a different place than it was, say, 6 months ago, without a doubt. I think everyone was used to kind of the trajectory that Europe was on, but it's exciting to see where North America has gone. And it's crazy to think back to when Complexity on your screen right there was the only team running Bloodhound. And oh, how things have changed. It's going to be a great set of days here for the semifinals.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to the action kicking off today. And of course, all these teams, this is a great opportunity for them to find that form ahead of the ALGS Championship, which is coming up as well. So much money on the line. You got the likes of Retzi, for example, Sentinels all of a sudden stepping up his games 8 hours a day. I'm going to be on 8 hours a day. And to be honest with him, I think he has been so far. So you can see that this GLL Masters Spring is really going to be a great sort of entry, a way of ramping up Apex competition ahead of that.
Yeah, it really is a kind of a perfect follow up and also follow up to the winter circuit and precursor, like you said, to the championships. Because largely in scrims, what we're seeing is not that much has changed. You and I had talked about it since the winter circuit playoffs, and you wouldn't expect that, being that we've had no updates to any legends or the like since then. So we're expecting to see relatively similar meta overall, but it will be interesting to see our teams maybe changing from a Gib to a Caustic, right? Our team's playing a little bit different. And one thing we also have to talk about too is also the fact that drops are going to be a little bit of a question mark in the semifinals. Like we said, it's a good mix, maybe 60-40 of 60% unsigned teams with 40% signed teams. So there's a few drops that carry over from the winter circuit scrims and the winter circuit playoffs that we saw, and we kind of have those mapped out. But it's a big question of what drops are going to be contested, maybe accidentally contested off the break too. There's going to be a little bit of a shakeout in the first 3 games, as you'd expect with a lobby like this in a semifinal.
I think the wonderful thing, though, about the format for today and tomorrow is, of course, we have 12 games to decide who's going to be going through. So although, you look at 6 games, maybe the upset potential would be there, and, one team just doesn't have a good day. The fact that they can come back tomorrow and put a run together is a great thing for them. We really are going to have the opportunity to get the best 10 teams out of this lobby into the final. And like you were mentioning there, usually you have that sort of game 1 or 2 where there might be a bit of contesting going on. There shouldn't be that, really, you would think, after game 4 and 5. The ego challenges might be over and done with, teams thinking, enough's enough now. We should find a comfortable drop spot, and we should be able to work our way into the games.
Absolutely. It's a great point, because not always do we see this format, especially coming off of the winter circuit playoffs in a match point format. Very fast match point format end was only a 7-game series. So to have just 12 in the semis alone, like you said, one of the great things about the GLL Masters events, is even last summer where you and I came together, well, actually you were covering Europe and I was covering North America, but where we brothers across the pond were able to cover the action. What's great about these GLL Masters tournaments, it really is a battle of consistency. You cannot have, if you have 3 or 4 hot games, that might not be enough in these tournaments, which is pretty crazy. This is really a test of who can play the best Apex across 2 days, 12 games.
Yeah, something that I do really enjoy watching. The longer format is one for the purists, so to speak. We really do get those 10 best teams. And speaking of teams, let's have a little bit of a discussion about the lobby we're going to be following. You had a brief glance of it a minute ago if you're watching at home, with some of the massive teams we have in there. But I want to ask you, Andy, because you've been obviously watching a lot of Apex recently. You've been keeping a keen eye on what teams have been performing well. Who are the standout teams that you're looking to really put a run together here?
The obvious one is NRG, but it might not be for the obvious reason of their performance in the winter circuit playoffs. For anyone who maybe followed on the Wikipedia what they did in their quarterfinals, they had a 100-point quarterfinal, averaging 16.6 points per game on average, which is pretty wild. I also have to give a shout out to Team Liquid, as they had 98 in that lobby. Everyone else was blown away, but that's something that I think has always been so important back when I was coaching teams as well. A team that plays like that in a quarterfinal, that makes a statement. You could easily coast your way through this. You could just make sure that you get into the top 10 each time, but it makes a statement if you're dropping 100-point quarterfinals to get into the semis. I think they are looking even better, even scarier than they were. And we're going to have a lot of time to talk about it, but NRG's road in the winter circuit playoffs, it might have been lost on people who watched that whole event. They were in not only 6th place, they dropped to 8th place by like game 4. Their run was incredible, and I'm expecting to see really big things from them, and not just from that result, but also how they're playing so far in the GLL Masters Spring as well.
I completely agree with everything you've said there. I think the NRG are on that upward trajectory, and it's crazy to say that, obviously, having just won the winter circuit playoffs. They just seem to be getting better and better, and Sweet, for me, as a player, really who has come into his own. In my opinion, probably the best IGL in the game at the moment. He just seems to be able to command his 2 teammates into such great positions on the map, but also making those split-second decisions on rotation that really do change the outcome of the game. But we also have some other teams who are kind of form-wise a little bit different. I would say the Sentinels are one of those teams, Andy. We always talk about Sentinels being this powerhouse, but recent results, you have to say, maybe not in the favor and what we would expect from a lineup like this.
Yeah, you and I were just talking about it yesterday as we were going over some of kind of the results leading up to this, getting ready for this event. There was a time, many Apex fans will remember, when TSM Sentinels were the 1-2, and the question was, will Sentinels overtake TSM? And there was also the statement that a lot of teams were making that Sentinels was the hardest team to 3v3. And I think that they've certainly had a very different road since then. I think that they have all the potential in the world, but you're right, an 18th place most recently at the winter circuit, not what you expect to see from them. I think after the first first few games they were at the bottom of the table as well, and they stayed there throughout the rest of the tournament. But that is not to say that the likes of Retzi, Senox, Crust, I mean, these guys are so talented. We know that they're capable of. The question is, can they put the pieces together here in the semifinal to maybe just get on a bit of a different trajectory? Because all three of them are certainly capable of it.
Yeah, I think there's so much talent on that lineup. You list those names off. It's just a matter of when, not if. For me, with that Sentinels lineup, when things do start to come together. And another team who's had things come together amazingly recently, the official addition now of Lou, is of course Counterlogic Gaming. They have been one of the most consistent teams in North America, Andy, and they're another team that surely would expect, with the longer format, to put their place in the finals.
Absolutely, and coming off of that fourth place win, they got to be feeling good. That's the kind of place you want to be. I think placing within the top four of that tournament just keeps them on the upswing. They're going to look to do even better here and continue that momentum all the way into the LGS finals, like you said. And I like what I'm seeing from them so far. You know, they've kind of had their ups and downs throughout the course of competitive Apex, but there's just one thing all three of those players have done. It's they've always had held their head up high, and like you said, Lou continues to get better and better and better. I have to agree with you and Rain. I'm the new look for Lou. No, the long locks are gone, but I think the aim is still there.
I'm telling you, like, it's catching on in Apex Legends. I'm telling you, this is a thing right here. This isn't like accidental. This is deliberate.
It seems to be. You're right. Yeah. No, it's
Lou, how everyone's doing it, man. I mean, Retzi was there at one point. He got the skinhead out. I mean, fair enough. They have the option, and whereas, fortunately, I don't. But I'm still catching on, Andy. Still catching. I'm looking forward to you joining me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at this point, it doesn't really seem like I have a choice. I think that's just where we're headed. But the CLG guys looking real good, and it'll be interesting because for a lot of these teams, like we talked about earlier, they've had set drops that they've been playing with for weeks and weeks as they got ready for the played through the winter circuit and then played in the winter circuit playoffs. So you have to anticipate that some of them are going to be going for those same drops, and we'll have to see where the rest of the lobby. Right now, we only have just under half of the lobby with established drops that we've been tracking. So first few games should be fun.
Yeah, zones is going to be interesting as well. I mean, a lot of talk, a lot of debate around the zones that obviously popped up during the playoff finals. A lot of Western zones, a lot of Southwestern zones. Which obviously, aided NRG on their win and taking nothing away from them. The fact that they won the game, which was probably the most northern circle they had the farthest to travel. But it'd be interesting to see how the rings play out, especially over 12 games. You would expect maybe a little bit more of a spread across World's Edge, which of course is where we will be playing all 12 of these games. And I'm sure that some of those teams that land on the eastern side of the map are hoping that they actually get to see a little bit of a closer ring to them this time.
Yeah, they're going to be crossing their fingers. As we mapped out those end circles, and of course on the Apex and the competitive Apex subreddit, we saw a lot of people kind of pointing this out and talking about this, but it was all Western pulls. We can't even really count that survey. Like you said, it's more of a northern pull than an eastern pull. That survey end circle, still impressive that NRG was able to take the win there. But the question is, are we going to get to see the eastern part of World's Edge today? And I'm hoping that the answer is yes. Like you said, 12 games should certainly give us a better chance to see a little bit of eastern battles, because the winter playoffs, as the cookie crumbled, as the chips fell, they were all Western pulls, like you said. But now we are dropping in. Who better to start things off with NRG?
The playoff champions themselves. It's going to be a fantastic couple of days of action. Thank you all, of course, for joining us. And as I say, 12 games of action to get through over the next 2 days. 6 of them coming today. And as you say, starting off with NRG. I mean, what a performance it was from them in the playoffs. They were not talked about enough by a lot of, myself included, in the build-up to the playoffs as being a potential team who could win it. They didn't show that consistent form, but like we mentioned, it's an upward trajectory for NRG, and it finally resulted in that playoff win. And Rucker, Nathan, and Sweet, I think you can't argue with it. The way they won it as well, on match point with 3 different teams in that fight, all on match point. They had to win that fight, and they did it perfectly.
And it was amazing, too, because in your interview with Rocker,
look at this.
Wow, here
our
we go.
prayers have been answered. I mean,
right away.
Just bring back Bravo. That's all you need to do. If you're an Eastern team dropping on World's Edge, just get Bravo to cast. Simple as that.
I refuse to take any credit whatsoever there, but a full Eastern pull, almost dead center Eastern pull, right overlooking Geyser here for that first ring. By the way, shout out, of course, to X and team, all of the observing crew for the GLL finals. Always great working with you guys. Excited to be able to utilize the features that came to Apex not too long ago. As you see the spread across the map, some things worth noting, of course, CLG all the way up top, SSG over there at Fisher, NRG, of course, at staging. You saw them drop earlier on, and Sentinels, unsurprisingly, at home at sorting.
I'm just having a look across the map at the moment and see if there is any contesting going down. I'm looking at Tree, and I'm just wondering if there are a couple of teams actually fighting down at Tree. And hey, look at that buff Pathfinder. Well, I mean, you're not using Pathfinder, and that probably might be why. And they're currently going to be challenged by a team who's also dropping here. And I can't remember exactly who is it. I believe it might be
Sandwiches.
PB Sandwiches actually over here as Bowser actually comes in and gets that knock.
Yeah, absolutely. PB Sandwiches, we knew, and many Apex fans would have known that this is their drop at Tree, and they are ready to fight off. Look at that right away. First team is out. It's Peanut Butter Sandwiches here to claim their territory down at Tree, and they do it quick. That's what you expect from Bowser, Pow Pow, and Saucer. Definitely one of our teams to watch this weekend.
Oh, 100%. And like you said, I don't think you could have said it any better there. They have claimed the Tree area as their own, and that's what happens when you try and contest a team like that. But more fighting going on here, and you can see that TSM are actually in a bit of a fight as well, as Howard's managed to get a knock onto Crummy in the kill feed, but more fighting going down here. And this is around Lava City, and it's Cool Cats, one of our unsigned teams, the kind of three unknowns who are looking to make a name for themselves here, who are currently being chased down. I think it's RCO actually making that move.
Yeah, absolutely. RCO.
RCO actually moving through the center, and that we've moved on, Andy. We've moved on.
Yeah, they're gonna just make their way, like you said. We were keeping an eye on their drops throughout all these scrims leading up as well. And RCO team, Bam, Holiday, and Nando now on that squad. As we take a look, everyone cozying up. Unsurprisingly, they're gonna get tucked into Overlooking Geyser. A pretty difficult pull there for teams that have Beacon on set, just because there is still that question of if we are pulling south of that cliff or north of that cliff, which will be a tricky call. And you're already seeing teams that have to make that choice. Great little zoom in here. Look at this, about to come into the vault tunnel. Potential battle here for TSM once again.
Yeah, TSM kind of holding this team out, and the team who are trying to push into tunnel kind of in a little bit of a sticky situation because they have a team behind them just on the respawn village as well, so they have to be very, very wary of their steps. I like what we're seeing from TSM though, showing aggression and showing presence, so vital in these kind of areas.
Yep, sniped down back from Hawaii here on the Hound, and has to be feeling refreshed, re-energized, ready to get into some Beasts of the Hunt, and we'll expect to see plenty from him and the squad today. But as we saw from the observers, great catch on that. They're holding down this vault tunnel. They're going to be very comfortable there, and you have to think they've got to be really happy with that, because onset with this exact pull for any team that had Beacon info, this is where you want to hold, because it gives you all the rotation options. Now, there will not be easy rotations out into Overlook South or No Name or into Geyser, but right now they do hold that main pathway as we take a look at what's going on here at No Name with CLG.
CLG trying to make a move in as well, but it looks like they're going to get hit by an EMP there. So we now move over to Smooth Bananas, my favorite type of banana. I'll get your opinion on that in just a few seconds, but the triple take going to be hitting pretty hard here with the 3 times. It's going to force the Gibby Bubble, which might give them the opportunity to push, but it looks like that team actually used the Gibby Bubble to escape down into that vault tunnel, and it looks like this will just be a little bit of a standoff.
Yeah, absolutely. Smooth Banana's going to just hold this down, and they know that they'll need to make their move eventually. As you see just off screen, looks like that team is going to take Train Channel, and they will not challenge up top at Mine Pass. That's actually going to be 2 rank, 1 pub, Dracos, Hundreds, and G7 Dank on this team. And as we see a picture-in-picture, once again, shout out to the observers, they're going to hold that up top, and we're going to see 2 rank, 1 pub just sneak out towards the bottom of Mine Pass.
Now, one team that did manage to rotate into guys that are caught very, very early on, who are taking that kind of hill building right deep into the heart of Geyser, is Sentinels, who do obviously drop over at Sorting Factory. So they've made a quick rotation in there, and we were talking about how we're going to keep our eyes on this Sentinel lineup and how they perform in these 12 games across the next 2 days. We're expecting them to click at some point, and with a 12-game series as well, Andy, this might be a great opportunity for Sentinels just to find that rhythm they've been missing a little bit recently.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really going to give each of these teams the time to settle in here. There's no need to rush. There's no need to panic. You don't have to have early results. Play your game, modify the strat accordingly a bit, but largely teams that are the most confident, that are the most comfortable, they are going to feel so great about a 12-game set rather than just having, say, something like a 5-game tournament and then being done, or even something on match point. Instead, you can get comfortable, you can get settled, play the long game here. It is a marathon, not a sprint, and a very interesting spread like we expected. Every single piece of real estate in Overlook and Geyser going immediately, and this is going to get so bloody in that vault tunnel once things actually pull one way. It's going to be just a series of wild events here. But take a look at this. Actually, we do have Six and crew taking a look of MST on your screen here over at Sorting.
That team was trying to push in behind them as well, and they're going to be forced off. Maybe just waiting for that beacon as well. You know, we know where that ring 2 beacon is going to be. We've seen that already where the ring is, excuse me. But a ring 3 zone is going to be a massive moment in this game, Andy. You've seen so many teams, like you mentioned, already having real estate, already feeling comfortable within that second zone. So you can see the split between either side of that vault where TSM are currently located. We're going to see essentially the lobby halved at that point when that ring 3 comes up, because everyone is going to have to move through such tight chokes in pressurized situations with so many other teams around. Even though we might have a little bit of a slow burner game to start off here, it really is going to pick up when we see that third ring.
Absolutely. It's going to be pretty wild. And the question will be how early the battles happen within Geyser and No Name, depending on how this pulls, or if this really does, everyone chooses to play edge and you have the SSGs kind of slowly coming into CLG to get into No Name. The question is how much of the damage, how much of the carnage is going to happen before the edge of that pull. But take a look at this at the bottom of Mine Tunnel. Once again, these two teams might catch each other again.
You're going to be having a little bit of a scrap here. We're going to see Westside. Unfortunately, it looks like one of their players hasn't loaded into the game, or something's gone wrong there, or they're just decided that, hey, 3's too easy, we're going to just play as a 2, and it's going to be Muffins and Mr. Hakulo who are making their way across World's Edge here, and they're going to just choose to not engage in a fight, which is a smart thing to do, of course. Just take a look at the kill feed, though. NRG, Nathan, and Rocker taking down Vaxlon and Lou, so Madness will be the last player alive for Counter Logic Gaming, and inside the top 19 teams, that is not where you want to be falling early.
Absolutely not. Westside, they're not having Zara Tricky on the team. We'll keep an eye on that. But like you said, the CLG NRG battle, I was going to say, this has to be happening within the No Name buildings themselves. There's really no other way that this engagement would have happened with the current kind of makeup of this match. This has to be within the battles. And I'm so glad to see this from NRG, because this is one of the exciting things I've seen from them. They are one of the only teams that is still aggro porting like we just saw. We only caught the end of the battle. But as you look at the winter playoffs, very few teams are aggro porting like we used to see, where the Wraith is being confident and you have an IGL likes to be able to make those calls, aggro porting right in, getting those kills. And that's exactly what we just saw NRG do. And they're not waiting, like we said, they're not waiting to be forced. They're making the plays. They are determining the pace of the action here as we take a look at Westside still trying to make something happen.
Yeah, there's a player inside. You can see that Wraith. It's going to be Muffins. He's going to be flanking. I think this is the last player alive, maybe from Cool Cats. That might have been. Actually, Muffins is going to be taking down Sorcerer. So all of a sudden, World's Edge is starting to come alive a little bit here. There's a Bloodhound outside this door as well. That shot's going to hit from Mr. Hakulo, but unfortunately, in this situation, it looks like they will be overwhelmed. And unfortunately, for the duo who are running here on World's Edge, that will be the end of their game number 1.
Yeah, they will go down. As we just also saw, by the way, we did see Bowser, so PB sandwiches in the feed on the receiving end of some damage as we take a look once again back here at MST, and they're still kind of on that sorting edge and just trying to clean up anything that might still try to come uphill, aware that players that have to take that route up into sorting are going to be at a pretty big disadvantage and that they are playing hard on the edge. So just due to the nature of this pull onset, we're seeing really interesting battles that normally at this point in the game and the time elapsed, we would not see. It's because just how much of that, like we said, those great positions in Overlook South, in Geyser, they go so quick that you get these really interesting fringe battles where all of a sudden just getting into sorting at a stage like this is so difficult.
Now you can see the problem for all of these teams who did decide that they wanted to be located one side or the other. We see that ring pull, and it is very, very fascinating to me, because it looks like most of the teams had kind of gambled that it wasn't going to pull towards Geyser. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, we've seen those teams now outside of that third ring. They're going to be held up by Sentinels, who are probably thinking, hey, everything's fantastic all of a sudden. They would have been thinking just a few moments ago, Andy, with everyone leaving, maybe we've got this prediction wrong. Maybe this isn't coming to Geyser. Maybe we're going to have to move, but sticking to their guns, or maybe just having a bit of fortune pull their way, means they are now in prime position for that third circle.
Here's the question. How talented of gatekeepers are TSM? Because as you see, you got reps watching the South, Hal and Snipe Down watching the North, and they are holding like Spartans, just waiting to see what might come their way. And we'll have to see if TSM can time their attacks and their third-party opportunities perfectly to hold down that gate. I mean, there's potentially a ton of KP up for grabs, or they might absolutely be stormed by an overwhelming amount of teams and stand no chance. So we'll keep an eye on that as we check back in with Smooth Bananas.
Yeah, Smooth Bananas, hoping they don't have smooth brains in this situation, trying to make their way through this little choke. You can see that they've got to kind of decide where they want to make their next move, and it looks like they're going to be trying to move down towards the edge of Geyser. They do have the Gibby, of course, to work with. Interesting lineup as well. You've seen Octane, Horizon, and Gibraltar, and we were talking a lot about how a couple of the slots now in Apex Legends have become interchangeable, and it's always interesting to see what comps these teams are running.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting example. One of the few examples we'll see of an offensive no beacon team, just because we've seen a few teams running a defensive no beacon, like CLT, for example, running a Wraith Gib Caustic, and Obey running a Wraith Gib Caustic. That'd be a defensive no beacon. But now we're seeing the little bit rarer offensive no beacon teams. We'll have to see if we see a little bit more of that as these teams try to put as much KP as they can on the board. Also, of course, get as much movement as they can in terms of getting those great positions, combining Octane with Horizon.
I just find it fascinating now how we've got so much real estate that looks to be free all of a sudden inside of Kaiser. For just a few moments ago, a minute or two ago, it was prime real estate. The house prices were soaring, but now looks like a little bit of an unfriendly neighborhood, as we're going to see 2 rank 1 pub inside of this building, inside of Geyser now. Thinking about the Gibby ults to try and hold this team out, and the EMP is going to go off as well from Draco. And now they're going to try and actually get a little bit aggressive. If they get some hits with this defensive bombardment, and they might be able to pick up a few KP, but it looks like some shots are actually going to be ringing in. The Gibby bubble going down from that team on the edge they were trying to fight is going to slow down this push, and now they're going to have to retreat. They're using their own dome just to make sure they can get back in safe. But look at this, all of a sudden Draco, who was in a little bit of a shifty situation, has found himself right in front of 3 or 4 players, and the Spitfire will ring out across Geyser, and that will be easy KP for them.
Yeah, very well done. He's going to rush back inside and see what he can do in terms of getting G7 Dank back up. But it looks like their building is still being taken. And that's actually going to be MST that's pushing them.
Yeah, and trying to push in now and be that third party. It looks like they've managed to get back into a position to at least hold for now. The Gibby bubble going to come in, and that means usually aggression from the other team as well when they bubble inside, trying to take those close range shotgun fights. And now Draco realizing the situation that he's in. Smooth Bananas have managed to creep their way in, Andy. They've been kind of working their way on the edge of this zone for a while, but now they're going to be pushing in using every single bit of equipment that they can to try and get some damage down, but it's not working for them. Now they're going to have to back up.
My goodness, the dome blocking the ult there. Incredible stuff there. It bounces perfectly off of the Gib shield as the Gib shield is in the toss animation, blocks it in the hallway. Amazing work from the Gibraltar there. But they, like you said, will have to reset here momentarily, trying to take advantage of that small hallway with that Horizon ult, and it doesn't work out for them there.
Well, they're going to have to force their way in around 30 seconds time. One team that I would like to check in on it is TSM inside of that vault tunnel to see how the gatekeeping operation is working for them at the moment. You can see they're trying to be aggressive, trying to show presence, but it looks like most people have already made a rotation to the west side. As you can see, that team actually giving us a great indication, illustration of how teams are moving at the moment. So TSM, even though they're probably thinking there might be a great opportunity for KP, like you were talking about earlier, and quite rightly, all of a sudden, they're kind of left out to dry a little bit here.
Yeah, instead, unsurprisingly, everyone takes that western route out of No Name. They would much rather go to Underpass, the Ridge, get over to Compound, and not risk this. So TSM kind of left out to dry, expecting that at least 1 or 2 teams might just poke a bit. We're still on your screen here. We do still see Sweet as well as SSG still thinking about that, but we'll have to go ahead and see now MSTI back in Geyser.
Yeah, I might be mistaken, but I believe that SSG actually took down 2 members of NRG. So I think that Sweet is a solo on the map here, and inside that top 13, not the start maybe that NRG would have wanted, but now TSM are having to hold off a push. And you can see the snipe down, as you say, refreshed from his holiday in Hawaii, still isn't missing bullets, as we've seen through the years, and absolutely beaming this team back at the moment, forcing that defensive bubble to come in, and that's going to allow TSM to back up, get some heals off, and Clarify goes down, and it's all up to Frex now. 3v1. TSM, I don't fancy those chances.
Yeah, it looks like any moment I expect them to go ahead and make that push here. Scan does come out here. Snipe down will be flying in. They're going to work together there. And we talked about a team that was going to try to make the push happen, and it was going to be SSG, but now Snipe down has to reset reps, and Hal step in right away to suppress still on that northern side. It looks like SSG was out, maybe that last player. Actually going to be taking a look at this Crummy, Senpai, and Scissors here on the push as well.
Yeah, it might have been SSG forced into that situation, take the fight with TSM from the pressure that was coming in from behind them from the team we're looking at right now. So although you have to say that TSM did a great job of wiping SSG, now they've got to do exactly the same thing. They will have a little bit of extra armor to work with, obviously having leveled up those evos from that fight, but for now, Team Cruelty, they're going to have to get aggressive. They cannot afford to stay in this situation for too long. Both bubbles going to be used, and it looks like TSM are looking for blood here, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the end of the day, TSM does have the opportunities for back-to-back. Like you said, SSG almost certainly pushed into that last scenario, but here comes the battle now. Hal just sitting on the edge. He's ready for the EVA bubble battles. He's here for it. Look at that wipe. 3 Hals in the kill feed, and they will win that battle. 7 squads left, and they are the gatekeepers of the North.
Yeah, you call them Spartans, and they're looking like it right now. And Snipedown knows something about being a Spartan, of course, with his history in Halo, and he's bringing that over to his teammates right now. But that's 6 KP now on the board for TSM, and 6 KP actually in the hands of Imperial Hao. So great start for Hao in this game number 1. As we jump on board with a solo from My Little Phony, and it's going to be Fury Sucks, and that's going to be maybe Fury, or is that going to be just a little bit of self-deprecation, Andy?
Oh boy, at the end we won't find out. Unfortunately, does not get to use the encampment, had an armor swap as well as a canteen, some about 3 days worth of food on display at the Geyser campsite as well, but he will not be able to utilize those. Instead, we get to go to some Kraber action with the man you were talking about earlier. It's Retzi.
I'll be having a word of X. Never swap off of a Kraber just as he's about to fight. But we are going to watch bottom 20 because they are going to be fighting right now, and they're going to be wiping RCO out of this building inside of Geyser as well. And bottom 20 not living up to their name at the moment as they find themselves inside of the top 5 right now. A nice portal to move in and clean up that fight. But you can see where that pull is going to be. Sentinels in a fantastic position still, and a lot of pressure on TSM here with their rotation out, especially now with the Kraber in the hands of Retzi. He's able to get a pick. If TSM peek from that tunnel too early, all of a sudden they could be down to 2.
Yep, man, is this ever a classic Encircle, tucked all the way back into Geyser. We've seen this played so many times before, and Sentinels right now, like we said, with some really great positioning. This is where you want to be. You've got the angles to be able to get the rooftop. Of course, it's really important that they have the scans here because it's so easy to get flanked. There's so many different ways to get to the back of these buildings, whether you're going underneath or the wide way around. But Senox is a very important player here. Anchoring around that tunnel exit is a huge position, but TSM, they want to get out. They want to get in the action.
Now you can see they have to make that move, and Sentinels is controlling that top building. So TSM right now looking to the right and thinking KP is our first thing. Hold these teams out to the right who have to make that long rotation in comparison to what we do. But as I mentioned previously, even though there's only 3 bullets left in that Kraber, that really could shape how this final 4 ends up. Who gets the most amounts of points on the board? Because 2 Kraber shots that make contact, all of a sudden those teams can be taken down immediately.
And we've seen this push from TSM before, a little bit of deja vu. They know exactly how to get into this back corner. You got to be careful. You got to get the position. I'm surprised Snipedown, I'm surprised he wasn't tagged before then, to be honest, by Sentinels. They need to have eyes on that. Senox, excuse me, has pulled back just a little bit to that furthest building edge rather than playing where the pills are over there. But Snipedown is now going to have a pretty good anchor where he can be a pretty big pain. So they're going to have to now focus on that. I'm surprised that Snipedown did not get tagged up more getting to that stump. And right now he's actually reset. Looks like the call being back to go back to that vault edge. Was maybe worried that a quick 3-player push might come out, but we got to also look at the HRN guys over there on screen as well.
Yeah, HRN looking pretty comfortable. They're going to have to make a move, though, as we say, and Sentinel's kind of the gatekeepers of the lobby at the moment, trying to decide where to focus their attentions, where fights are breaking out, and if they can get a shot onto any of these teams who are trying to force their way into the area that they are currently holding down. But now you're going to see potentially Retzi with a shot. He hits a 319 onto Hao, and he follows it up as well with a beam through the air with the Havoc. That's what I was talking about. Retzi has the ability to make these huge plays, and a Kraber shot on a flying Hao is a perfect example of it.
It really is. They try to make that push. They're surprising once they Snipedown reset. You would think that that push would come with Snipedown in that position on the stump for a little bit of cover, or one of the players at least on the stump. But instead, they do get inside. Take a look at Hao needs to heal, but right now TSM did what they needed to do there. Onset, they were able to get into that first section of that building, and that was the hardest part potentially of this push.
And that's what's difficult in these top 4 situations, top 3 situations. Even though that Kraber shot came in, they managed to take down Hao. The bubble from Reps was so good and managed to get the rest of them inside of the building. Sentinels couldn't afford to push because those other 2 teams who are in this situation would have been looking for the third-party opportunity. So even though TSM, as I say, Hao got his head ripped off momentarily there, he's managed to put it back together, fit the jigsaw, and all of a sudden TSM are back up to 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that Octane, able to take that damage and just fly through right in. You have to think not every legend will be able to do that, but here they go right up, right away. Beast of the Hunt activated for Snipedown, some decent damage there, and Reps also going to bubble to allow for that poke.
Big shots coming in from Reps as well. The flatline hitting hard, managing to get 1 knock. That's 2 knocks now, and I tell you what, Sentinels are probably thinking, we should have pushed TSM. We should have given them the opportunity to get back into this final fight because they've just been wiped pretty much off the face of the planet here. 2 players have been taken down and eliminated. I believe there's 1 player alive now for Sentinels, but what a push that was from TSM.
Absolutely, they don't miss and they coordinate that push perfectly. Like we said, the hard part was just getting in the building. Once they were there and healed, they were able to do a lot of damage. And also, as you had mentioned, Sentinels, as we see with the squads left, does look like they have 1 player up as well, but TSM still pushing forward here, getting some good info on the scans as well.
Yeah, that's going to be Sentinels eliminated. So a top 4 finish for them. Down to our final 3 teams then. TSM inside of the building, bottom 20, overlooking outside. And another team who are holed up inside of the building, playing Caustic as well. So very, very difficult to push that team. As you can see, those barrels being popped as well, just to obscure the vision, to make everything a little bit more difficult. As now with a minute 27 and our final ring starting to close, this is about to heat up.
Wow, a big break there, as you saw just now. RKN taking a whole bunch of damage, but Omnu's Guri, don't forget, these guys know how to play as well. This is a very stacked final 3 teams here. The hardest route, of course, is from this bottom team. They're going to have to make their move pretty soon. They're going to play this crate for just a moment and this hill, but after that, they're going to have to make sure that they time this third party perfectly.
So now it's about timing. Like you mentioned, the perfect word, the key word for all of these teams. Do not be the third party. Oh, sorry, be the third party. Don't be the first party to go down. I'm going to see defensive bombardments coming in to try and force the team on the bottom down and stop them from pushing and make everything a little bit more difficult. TSM kind of have the vision that they're looking for, and now you can see the HRN are actually going to try and ape this team down the bottom as well. I think they found they might be in a situation where they can't win this game. They don't feel confident, so they're looking for these final KP to get themselves that second place. Bottom 20 though, they're trying to put up a fight now. Vayne, the last player alive on the Wraith as well, is going to hop into the void, and that will secure them the top 2, but it's TSM now coming through looking for that final player. Perfectly played this by TSM. A perfect Apex in game number 1.
My oh my, and they will close it out, as you said, just a matter of time before they got that last kill. But look at TSM, the way they play that, and thanks to the observant team, we were able to identify that right away. But being the gatekeepers there at that vault, it gave them the perfect rotation option. They also held long enough, and they did see some action on that northern side of that vault tunnel, and they were able to not only take out SSG, but also take out the follow-up as well. And I also love the way that they played that. They played that slow. When you thought Snipe Down was maybe going to go from the stump, they reset, they fly in together. Like you said, Reps' bubble was perfect as well, and TSM looking very good here. Keep in mind, they came away from the Winter Circuit playoffs with that 3rd place. As we take a look at some highlights here, you know, and 3rd place, that's not good enough for TSM. These guys are champions and they want nothing other than first. We're taking a look here at the second part of that battle as well. That was going to be Cruelty that gets mopped up in the end at the northern side of the tunnel.
Yeah, there were so many good things about the way the TSM played that as well. Not only was it a fine example of an early rotation into a strong position inside of that tunnel, but also, as we just see that Kraber shot once more onto Imperial, how it was gatekeeping at its finest. It was team fighting, it was bubble fighting, and then recovery as well towards the end of the game. Every single asset that you need to win a game of Apex Legends when there's a stacked lobby was just on display there by Team Solo Mid.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the end there, HRN does pretty well to sweep in and try to put as many points as they can on the board. But that battle forced, of course, very, very quickly. And as soon as that first bubble went down, you knew everything was about to go down. And TSM coming out of that, almost making it look too easy in the end, as they're able to take that victory. Game 1 is theirs, and they've got to be feeling pretty good about that. And they had to play that slow. They had to play the long game because, like we said, a lot of potential for maybe some poke, maybe some third parties. A lot of that went away when No Name and Overlook South, when everyone shifted west and instead tried to take the long roads through Underpass and otherwise to get towards Geyser, because they knew that pushing through any team, let alone TSM, in Vault was not going to be an option. But instead, they played the long game. They play the way they know how to do, and they make it look easy. Like we said, the hardest part for them was the edge of the vault tunnel into the easternmost Geyser buildings, and as soon as they did that, you knew that there was trouble.
Oh, 100%. And I think we got a huge amount of KP on the board. We'll obviously tally those scores up and we'll get them to you as soon as we can. And while we do that, we're going to go for a very quick break to get all the scores tallied up, bring them to you as soon as possible. We'll be back very soon. Welcome back, everybody, to the GLL Masters Spring onset and Bravo, bringing you all the action over the next couple of days. Andy, what a game 1 we just had. TSM absolutely wiping the lobby. An emphatic game number 1 from them.
Yeah, it was a really great game. It was a slow and patient game. Keep in mind with that Frag East landing, they did not have far to go to hold the tunnel, but they would have been able to get that beacon info, and they would have been able to then hold tunnel, because like we said, that was a split decision, and we could say it all day at the casting, virtual casting desks, that was a tough decision on terms of that pull. But where the teams actually set up was the truest validator of that. You had an even split between Geyser and Overlook South and No Name, and TSM was like, you know what, we're just going to hold the absolute best position here and have the most opportunities for the most rotations throughout the entire game. That's exactly what they did. They had one really tough moment, which was the movement into the actual Geyser building. Once that was done, they got their heals, and you might have noticed how long it took Hal to heal. I mean, it took a lot of damage. He took that whole Kraber shot. I think you're right on set. Sentinels is going to be wondering, should we have just dropped down? Should we have thermaled it? Should we have thought about just seeing what kind of opening we could have created? But in the end, TSM, they close it out very, very strong, and they look good in game one.
Yeah, sometimes that's just the power of a team name, right? Knowing who's on that team. You don't want to give them the opportunity to turn a 2v3 into a 2v3 win for them and take you out of the game. So a respect being shown there for Sentinels, which is something that you look back in history, something that they didn't show teams a little bit earlier on when they were having their success. So yeah, maybe that's something for them to look at, and I'm sure they will go back and look at that opportunity that they did have. But we had some early casualties in that game as well. Some of our big teams, NRG, CLG, out pretty early, Andy. And even though we do have a long, long way ahead of us to find our top 10 teams, not the start they would have wanted.
Yes, certainly. I think these teams want to be able to ride the momentum, even though we do have a marathon here between these 2 days. And then, of course, even more matches in our grand finals. They do want that momentum, and it makes it a lot easier if you're able to just get a performance that you're a bit happier with. You can roll that momentum match to match, because we talk about how much all these games afford you a luxury of consistent performance. But let's not forget that 6 games in a row at the highest level you can possibly play, of course, almost all these players streaming as well, there's still a lot of demand. It's, there's a lot of mental and emotional energy that goes into these matches. So the more you can win, the more KP you can put on the board, it just gets you in a little bit of better spirits. So they're going to be looking to turn that around in game 2 for sure.
We'll take a look at the scores from that game at number 1 there. They are hot off the press. They are straight out of the oven, and they are delivered to your screens right now. Team Solo Mid with a 12 points from that placement, 13 kills as well, 25 points on the board for them. A big game 1, but some surprising teams inside that top 10 as well. You can see NRG, Sweet actually managed to get his way into that top 9, Andy. So even though we were saying NRG fell early, actually, Sweet managed to pull off a little bit of a miracle there.
Yeah, like we said, leave it to Sweet. I can't remember exactly what the words that Rocker used to describe him, but he is, and he's an absolute beast of a Wraith in terms of the way that he's able to get around the map. So good stuff from NRG just to put a few points on the board. But I'd say in terms of, I don't want to call it a surprise, but to follow up on things that we were tracking on Sent, we know that many fans are as well. Sentinels placing top 5 in that match. That's a very good start for them, because like we said, they're coming off of an 18th place winter playoffs finish, not where they wanted to be. So Sentinels has to be feeling pretty good in terms of sitting 5th after game number 1.
100%. One team that won't be happy though. Logic Gaming, first team eliminated in the lobby. You could see it there, right down in 20th place. Sorry, there was second team eliminated, I believe. There might have been one KP that got shared in that tree fight early on. I have to rack my brain and see if I can remember that exactly. But let's talk about TSM a little bit, because you mentioned in that first game, born winners, all 3 of these players, hyper competitive, a huge amount of history, and with a lot of weight on their shoulders as a team, as a lineup, with what people expect. A lot of fans are expecting championships every single time that they turn up, and for TSM, that's got to be difficult to deal with. They haven't had that championship win that they would have wanted, but you just feel like with a team like TSM, the one thing that's been missing for me is that start. They seem to have these phenomenal ends. They get sort of game 3 of 6, for example. They start picking up points. They start rallying late, but early games in tournaments seem to be where TSM kind of fallen off a little bit. But this is a great example of what they need to do, right? Put up a big performance early on in this first game and really just boost their confidence.
Absolutely. They should boost their confidence, and for these next games that follow, just continue to put points on the board, right? They don't have to have these huge 25-point performances, although, of course, they're going to be gunning for those. But TSM, a team that historically has given themselves a very hard road into the finals. If you think back to the first 2 years of professional Apex Legends, a lot of times TSM would come into day 2 of tournaments outside of the top 10. And somehow, some way, as we take a look on set, we're starting to get some balance in the universe. It's another Eastern pull, and it is already looking here at Overlook as, of course, the guys there, Cruelty, are going to be very happy with that. They're going to get all of the silos there in Overlook. Without a doubt, they're going to hold that high ground right away and gatekeep there. But we are getting a far Eastern pull, not too far off of our game 1.
No, a very consistent pull to the east. It's almost like they are allergic to the west now.
I'm
You know what I
starting,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
I'm starting to get worried
wait,
because we,
conspiracy theories?
I mean,
Tin hats? What's
we
going
had
on?
only Western polls in the playoffs for the LGS. Now we're only seeing very similar Eastern polls. So I'm definitely a bit worried. But let's take a look at the drops. Nothing really to note aside from the fact that we do now see Tree has been left alone for PB sandwiches. So unsurprisingly, they're going to have Tree to themselves here, and it looks like no early action. So no other changes outside of that Tree shift in terms of initial drops.
Yeah, that's what we expected. Just something kind of one game or two games, maybe there'll be a little bit of contention, just teams just finding their feet a little bit. But as we know in competitive Apex, when you're contesting, it's a bit of a waste of time, to be honest with you, because even if you win the fight, you slow down on your rotation, right? If you lose the fight, you lose the fight. You're out first, and all of a sudden you've got no points on the board. So if you can find a safe haven, much more advantageous across a 12 game or even a 6 game series. For example, the 6 games that we've got today. But you're seeing TSM, they've got another fantastic rotation to make as well. Nice and easy for them. But look at Sentinels. Look how quickly they've made their way towards this circle. They're going to be in a great position as well.
Yeah, they made it really fast, and you already saw Retzi right there on the lead at the edge of sorting as he starts to make that move, and you knew that they were going right away. They're already flying through No Name, and that's exactly what you want them to do. One thing that's worth noting there is it was actually Buff Pathfinder that was originally going Tree. They got to Geyser. They're coming. They're actually still in Geyser. You can see them on the right side of your screen. They haven't made it even to the tunnel yet, and Sentinels, who dropped sorting, has already flown straight through. So you got to wonder with Buff Pathfinder if they should be taking so much time in the tunnels here and not getting all the way over to No Name. They're going to go ahead and loot up, but maybe lucky for them that they took so much time, because they did not catch that Sentinels battle just as Sentinels pushed across No Name. The one last thing I do want to mention, I want to correct myself. We did have HRN that was dropping Lava City. That's a change. It used to be an Overlook drop for them in the winter playoffs, so keep an eye on them at Lava City, but now jumping on board with TSM already here in Overlook.
Yeah, they can just be poking right now and trying to do a little bit of damage to get those Evo shields up. Not the armor they would have wanted to leave Fragment East with. However, they'll be happy that they've got themselves a little comfy spot to sit for the next few moments and level up those Evos. Space Station Gaming now making their way through Fragment West at the moment. Looks like they're coming under a little bit of resistance here, Andy, though.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not the battle that they want to spend their time on at a time like this. You could tell, of course, that their movement, their motion needs to be pretty quick, because that move from Frag West, they've got a few options. They can take a little bit of epicenter height. It looks like they weren't thinking that. They were instead going to try to cut of a more direct route to Overlook. But look at TSM right away on Cruelty Team, trying to get some positioning right off the bat. They are not wasting any time. They're not gatekeeping the outside, the western parts of Overlook. They are already here in this second level of the house, and they're actually pushing Cruelty Team back all the way into this cliffside silo.
Yeah, they're going to be pushed back, but for now, TSM got to be more than aware there is a team behind them as well. You can see that Rambo, Fury, and Phony Head are going to be in that building just behind them. You saw that bubble going down to give them a huge visual indicator that that is going to be the case. But Bottom 20, who made their way into the top 3, I believe, in that first game, are going to be pushing their way through the tunnel here and trying to get some shots down. This is beautiful shots actually coming in from the wingman as well. The EVA 8 shots are going to be pretty good as well. And what a push that is. That's going to be Bottom 20 continuing their hot start to the semi-finals here. Game 1 was a great one for them, and Game 2 starting off hot as well.
Yeah, it's going to be Lonely Fans. Great team name, by the way. They're going to drop here early, and like you said, it was a very good push that we just saw come in. That's going to be Bottom 20 after that second place finish. Vayne, Scurry, and Onmu, names we've been following for a while. You expect big things from them, but also taking a look here at RCO.
RCO trying to do some work here, just trying to work this team inside of the building. Haven't got too much damage done, unfortunately. And looks like that team might actually be trying to retreat. RCO getting all kinds of aggressive, though. You can see frag grenades going in as well. You saw a thermite being tossed onto the balcony. And now you're going to see the push coming in. And what are they trying to do what he can at the moment as the defensive bombardments actually come in and do a little bit of damage. And all of a sudden, RCO's aggression might be starting to backfire on them a little bit as Cool Cats are inside of the building and causing a little bit of a ruckus.
Yeah, absolutely. Scam's going to go down as well. Piece of the hunt activated here for BBN. Going to fly right out here. Look at that. 67 boom boom with the Mastiff, and they hold down the house.
Yeah, that's a big play from them as well. RCO probably thinking this is a weaker team in the lobby. We want to take this fight. However, Cool Cats showing that they aren't a weaker team in this lobby. They could fight in those 3v3 situations, and those big shots that came in really did deal the damage needed to win that team fight. Maybe a little bit of over-aggression, a lack of respect being shown by RCO in that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And you take a look, there's still quite a bit of teams here on the fringe. So it's a different ring than we just saw because of how the Geyser and Overlook and no name played in the last game. You're still seeing a lot of teams, unsurprisingly, still out towards Skyhook and even Skyhook Station and still around Epicenter. So those moves are going to be a little bit slower. It's interesting, though, because those teams are going to have to make their way over. Zeratricky, as you see, just if you squint there, did make it into this game as they're over at Skyhook. Once again, that's going to be West Side. They're going to be the last team right now, but they might even find themselves in Skyhook Pass battle if that team continues up that way. But NRG making the very long route, going to skirt just the edge of Survey, maybe even see if there's a little bit of extra loot, but they're going to look for what looks to be that epicenter height. They're going to hold that cliff all the way through, which could be a good option for them to play edge.
Yeah, play edge, pick up some KP on those teams rotating in from the west. But one team that I want to point out there that's found themselves in a great position inside of the zone is one of those teams who drops actually over at Skyhook, who's made a huge rotation extremely quickly. And that is, of course, Counter Logic Gaming, who didn't have a great game one, but that's just something that always impresses me about CLG, right? Regardless of where the ring is, they always find themselves in a great position. Having that balloon available to them just in that tunnel to the north of where they drop in Skyhook as well at Skyhook West gives them that quick rotation option. It's a little bit risky, of course, always taking that balloon, but if you can get there quickly and make that move, you can find yourself in a position that CLG do now.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at what TSM has done. They've pulled off miracles. And despite the fact that Cruelty Team had that drop, somehow in the end, TSM actually gets the silos. They get the platform that you want to hold. Not only is that such a power position, but we've seen so many end circles and right at the base of those stairs as well. So TSM somehow, through maybe scare tactics alone, scare everyone back into the lesser real estate. And they hold right now the premium spot. TSM looking good here once again. As we take a look also at My Little Phony, they've made their way into that outermost building on your screen.
Yeah, they've been holding there for a few moments now. They were behind TSM a few moments ago. Like you said, I'm not sure how TSM made that rotation. If a little bit of fighting kind of diverted attention away from them for that few moments, but they're in a great position. You saw that Reps managed to get that Evo up to a blue in those few seconds as well. NRG just kept taking a look at their rotation as well, coming through Refinery right at the north side of your map at the moment, working their way through that little no-name town just outside of Epicenter to the west of that. They should be moving through those rocks as well, but it looks like they're going to actually be redeploying here. So you can see NRG moving extremely quickly. Nathan lagging behind a little bit, but NRG going to be comfortable inside that circle too.
Yeah, you can tell by the way they moved. They did a little bit of extra looting through Survey and Refinery as well, and they have now ballooned over, and they're going to have to slowly make their way up. MST was the team behind them. MST actually going to go by foot on that Epicenter height. They might find themselves in Epicenter Central battle right on your screen there as you see these two teams here. Maybe gonna engage each other. By the way, Crispy Bacon, one of my favorite gamer tags in this entire lobby. Got to shout out to Outcast Gaming as well.
Dude,
but
like, how do you not have it if you're eating bacon and it's not crispy? Like, what's the point?
Crispy's the only way. Absolutely,
the only way. Like, you go to any breakfast place, give me a bacon crispy.
Yeah, now we got crispy. I can't even say it. I can't even say it incorrectly. Crispy.
You're never gonna order bacon. Like, come on, man, you gotta get it together.
I'm only gonna order bacon. But you and I could do this because we get to, once LAN events come back, we can go to get some food together and we can order some crispy bacon. But now on your screen here, the Gibby making his way across from that epicenter rotation, like we said, as they're gonna make their way in. Everything pretty quiet here in this game, and because of the real estate that Overlook offers, we still have 18 squads remaining in this game, whereas at this point in game one, of course, it was very different.
Let's see if we could bring up a map overhead at some point as well, just to see how many teams are actually outside of where that zone is going to be and where that beacon did pop that zone number 3. That gives us the option to see if any of these teams are going to be fighting or not, or if most of those teams have already made their way in. But like you mentioned, Outcast Gaming here with Crispy Bacon. Little pause just for effect. I'm going to be trying to hold down the edge here. They're inside of that next zone, but they do have the beacon character, but it looks like they don't have the beacon information. So they're going to be just trying to land some shots, trying to force their way in. But Crispy Bacon, unfortunately, is going to get a little bit too hot in that situation and have a few burnt edges.
I was going to say, yeah, a little bit too close for comfort. Going to be forced to Phoenix there. He'll reset a bit, but I like the effort there, the thought, try to get some G7 poke there. You have to think on that angle, maybe was even, let's see, NRG that they were engaging with, but MSTI is also part of this engagement as well. And like we said, Epicenter, despite the fact that this is a pretty well-respected piece of elevation, it's a little bit late to be here given where all the other teams are. So they're actually exposed to quite a few angles. Need to be careful because here comes the battle.
Yeah, here comes the fight as well. The Bloodhound is going to be absolutely beamed by Metro. Unfortunately, the shots were exchanged as well. But look at this defensive bombardment. It is cracking shields like eggs dropped on the floor as Metro now makes that move in to try and finish off what has been started here. Big beams with the R9 as well. That's going to drop 2, and that is a clean wipe across the board. Hakulo, Zeratricky, goodbye. We'll see you in game 3.
Well, that's Westside with an earlier exit than they'd like once again here. And like you said, Zeratricky, Hakulo, and Muffins, 3 names that we are no strangers to, and competitive Apex fans are not either. So we'll expect to see them bouncing back as well. Excuse me, though, Muffins, as I read it on the screen there, of course, switching there alongside Panders and Metro. But the question is, will they be able to make their way in? Because it's going to get even more difficult to make their way into Overlook. And now as we take a look back at TSM, no surprise, they're pretty comfy here. They're going to be sitting pretty comfy, feeling very very happy with the situation at the moment, because they're dropping those armors as well, because they are aware that there's a crypto in the area and want to make sure that EMP doesn't do as much damage as it potentially could do, allowing a team to push on them. So if you're just wondering why they're staring at their armors, it's not just because they're prettier. There is a reason behind it. Outcast Gaming still up on this height, and look at this at the moment. They will be shooting fish in a barrel, or I should say Apex Legends characters inside of a building in just a few moments if they can hold this angle. Exchanging a few greetings and salutation crouches. You gotta love to see it. Gotta love the respect that they'll exchange a few glances through that glass and a few scans as well here. Well, Outcast Gaming, like we said, 17 squads still left here. Only 3 have dropped in what have been not too difficult of rotations. Really, it's only been the teams that have caught out. Any team that did drop at this stage was simply caught late in their rotation. Unfortunate for them, and they were not able to get in early enough. But Overlook, one of the examples on World's Edge where you can get so many different buildings, so many different pieces of cover, and that's exactly what you're seeing on your screen here. Look at Sentinels actually commanding all of Overlook South here, gatekeeping there, but there's not much to gatekeep, to be honest. There's only one team to the west.
Yeah, Sentinel's kind of a little bit of a no man's land at the moment. You can see there's no teams behind them, so they're going to be comfortable as far as teams pushing from the southern side of the map. There's 2 teams who potentially could engage, and I think the Sentinels are maybe looking for a third party opportunity on those teams that might engage and have to be forced inside of that ring in just a few moments. But yeah, at the moment, Sentinels don't have a huge amount of cover to play with. They do have some rocks. They don't have any buildings, so to speak. But Outcast Gaming, who have been watching for quite a bit in this game, at the moment just can't land any KP, can't get an opening. You can see trying to third party this fight that might be going down on that train cart just outside of Fragment East, but at the moment just not landing the shots that they need to, creating those opportunities to push.
Yeah, 2 things to note here. Space Station is holding top zip from tunnel, which is a pretty important position right now, just because it is going to give them a lot of third-party opportunities. They're going to have to commit when they do, but it will give them opportunities to kind of pick and choose. The other thing is NRG has still not made their way in, whether that's timing based or they haven't had the right poke opportunities. 2 teams I'm definitely keeping an eye on at this stage right now.
Oh, Outcast Gaming, things were looking good for them for just a few moments, but unfortunately one of their players got absolutely decimated, and that will be them eliminated. 6 doing a great job to slide in with the Eva 8 to finish things off there, only losing Metro in that fight. But you can see the idea. They were trying to push, and unfortunately for them, it will be crispy bacon left in the oven for a little bit too long, and that will be them eliminated. Unfortunately, a good idea, but unfortunately just met with extreme aggression from the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew it was a UI bug. It was Muffins, of course, alongside that West Side roster. I was like, there's no way that all of a sudden I got this team roster completely wrong there, as you will see them push on pretty good. It's good stuff from that squad. But now No Name, much busier than you'd expect, just because the move from No Name is going to be so difficult for many reasons. Not only is it uphill, you've got Sentinels just to the east, and now you have all these teams here. HRN is just outside. So No Name is kind of in this weird place where in an overlooked circle at this stage, you would not always see this as a battle is going on that northernmost building.
Yeah, you can see these teams try and fight their way through. And another thing to say, you know, you're saying uphill, but such open ground to have to traverse as well. You know, if you make that first move, there's teams who are just waiting on the edge of circle now to make their push. And I like this wide rotation that's coming in as well. I was about to say I like this wide rotation, but unfortunately it looks like it might have been a little bit too wide, and those teams, that team, excuse me, who are working their way through the ring, unfortunately might have taken too much damage and fallen. But you were speaking about Sentinels here. They're in a great position to pick up those KP that we were talking about a little bit earlier. The only problem here for Crust, he hasn't got too much ammo left in the triple take, so it has to be very careful and efficient with these bullets he does have.
Yeah, here you go. Here's the reason that they were waiting for that gatekeep opportunity in No Name, just holding that ground, which is pretty valuable real estate on an overlook ending regardless of what's happening on No Name. But they're going to be even happier that they're going to have that much to pick and choose from, as those teams, like you said, have to make the way not only uphill but also through very, very open ground, and Sentinels is going to be happy to pick up whatever they can off of that. But now take a look at Space Station here. Actually, they do drop there, and it must have been a drop based on the damage, and they're going to go ahead and now play this low ground as well.
Yeah, managed to pick up a few KP there. Sentinel still trying to do work, but it seems like a common theme, not just for Crust, but also here for Sanox. Just ammo being a real issue, and when you've got low ammo, it usually means that the inventory situation isn't going to be too great as well, but that is going to be a big grenade which might give them the opportunity to push. They don't need to be asked twice, and you can see Crust not only looking for shots here, but also looking for ammo, for anything he can work with, swapping out for the Spitfire. That's going to give him something else to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Really nice job there to hit that shot. You hear the Evo charge, able to loot it as well, doing everything at once here and going to pull back. So very well done there in terms of providing himself the poke damage as well as the cover to go ahead and grab just a little bit extra, grab that swap. But now taking a look at Peanut Butter Sandwiches, a team that we talked about quite a bit and we'll be keeping an eye on just because of the talent on this team, Saucer, Bowser, and Pow Pow. Excited to see what they can do through the GLL Masters Spring as we take a look at these teams trying to make their way out of No Name. It will be difficult, and that port is going to go down. We'll go ahead and see Q not forced just yet, so going to have a lot of time. Q does go down, and now Sola going to make the way up and get that safe portal there. Probably not the safest, but it's going to give them a route out.
Yeah, the only problem, that portal gave the opportunity for another team to push. They realized that with the Wraith gone, it was a 3v2 situation, and now, unfortunately for Peanut Butter, they are going to only have Sorcerer alive. It was a tough rotation for them to make. We should point that out. You saw they were on the very edge of the circle with the longest way to go, and now Sorcerer is just going to try and do what he can to scrape any placement points up. Bottom 20 now, who had a fantastic game number one, looking to replicate here in game number two. Their portal's going down as well. They're making their move for a rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it was a bit of a Hail Mary portal to begin with, and at the end, it's too little too late for them. But now bottom 20 actually getting pushed very hard here, and they need to be careful.
Yeah, it looks like there's a team actually underneath the area that they wanted to try and get into. Bottom 20 now, Omnu, the last player alive, gets stunned as well by that Arc Star, so his movement's going to be slowed down. However, the Thermite will slow things down. He actually manages to take down Franks from Space Station there, so Space Station are going to be slowed down. He now bubbles in, and he's thinking, KP, if I can pick up a couple here, all of a sudden, my fortunes could change, and he's managed to work his way into the top 8, but unfortunately they will now be eliminated.
Yeah, absolutely, and teams dropping so fast. The kill feed just filled up. We just saw go down from 12 to 7 here on this move, unsurprisingly. As we take a look at NRG, a team that's still on the outside of that edge, and Rocker trying to make something happen here. Are you kidding me? Amazing stuff there, turning around, and Dipsy Doodles with the triple take massive combo.
Yeah, massive hitting hard as well here. Unfortunately for NRG, it looks like My Little Phony recognized the fight that was going down, moved in for the third party. However, with Rocker being eliminated, the rest of NRG are down to only 2 players, I believe. But look at the third parties. Every single time that someone tries to make a move on NRG, they make them pay. Rocker was downed, but not finished. Nathan and Sweet managed to swoop back in, finish those kills off. And now NRG, what a play that was from them to get back up to a full complement of players.
That is what we're talking about with NRG when you have those absolutely chaotic situations where you have multiple third parties coming in. The way that they can stay cool, calm, and collected through that battle was pretty incredible. And when we went back to their screen, you were positive they were going to be in worse shape than they were, but instead they come out on top. Now they are in the top 5, and like we said, looking to come out with a big performance in game 2 after the performance they would not have hoped for in game number 1. HRN playing the edge of that silo and laying down damage as NRG tries to make their move. It looks like TSM and CLG also has eyes on that NRG move. It's going to be a difficult move for NRG on set.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult move for everyone at the moment. CLG coming under pressure, but also trying to poke and get some KP on the board. And you could see Vaxel managed to take down Nathan there, and now they're moving in to try and eliminate NRG, but that seems to be the most difficult thing to do at the moment. But CLG get the job done. There should be an armor swap available here for Vaxelon as well, and he will be able to get Madness back onto his feet. But our final 6 teams or so here, some of the biggest names in North America, TSM being one of them, but Imperial Howl having to back up from that situation. His shield's getting cracked.
Yeah, absolutely. They thought about going in just now. You saw that. Instead, they're going to wisely heal up just a bit. 4 squads left there. NRG holding on for as long as they could. But like you said, in the end, getting that knock on Nathan was absolutely huge for CLG. It absolutely let them push down, and that probably would not have been the same result had we not see that opening damage. So really great stuff there from CLG. And once again, we see Crummy now getting below TSM finally, as well as CLG still holding the outside, and HRN now holding low alongside the silos.
You have TSM, you have Team Cruelty, HRN, like you mentioned, still alive, and CLG, I believe it was, inside of that top 4. So huge names, like I mentioned, in the North American competitive Apex scene, still left in this game with 25 seconds left until that ring starts to slowly move its way in. These players are going to be looking for picks, looking to hold these positions. CLG, full red armor across the board for them. Lou with a scout in hand as well is going to be able to not only just maybe create an opening for them, but influence one of those other fights that's going down for those teams who are a little bit closer proximity to each other than CLG are.
Absolutely. Now I'm just going to hold this, and it's going to be some interesting opportunities for poke damage between the likes of Lou and Snipe Down to see which of them might want to engage, might want to not. Of course, could become a very expensive battle very quickly in terms of inventory, but here we go now as they're going to have to make the move. HRN still moving in low, and CLG also on the move, getting some new angles is madness.
Lou trying to hold on to that Gibby bombardment as well and trying to force TSM off of this height. They're going to force the bubble, and now CLG are going to make their move right into center zone. CLG so good at making those rotations to where that end game, excuse me, is going to be finishing. And now you're seeing just a moment of quiet actually as these teams have a little bit more time to play with than what we've seen previously to those ring changes, and now the defensive bombardment will come in from Counter Logic Gaming. TSM still not forced off at that height. However, RKN going to be taken down, first player down in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's big for them to lose him. Well, keep an eye on that kill feed because that's going to determine really how things go just based on positioning alone, but big damage coming in for TSM as well as that's going to hit.
Yeah, TSM are in a bit of a difficult situation at the moment. I don't know if they've got too many heals to work with. It looks like they're waiting for the opportunity for another fight to break out. They might have an opportunity to heal. They might not have the heals to work with, but they're going to have to move in just a few moments. 54 is going to be doing enough damage maybe to force that team off. TSM just trying to survive here for as long as physically possible. Now when the backs are turned of this team, they make that move in. Hao tries to go in with the Octane, now has to back up with a stim, but TSM managed to work their way inside the top 3 with a great play here.
Absolutely cruelty team going in hard, but Reps will be the one that falls, so it's going to be up to Snipe Down and Hal. Now just up to Snipe Down here for TSM.
Yeah, CLG are moving in, and CLG will have a simple job of cleaning up the mess in front of them to close out game number 2. The perfect response from Counter Logic Gaming in our game 2 there, Andy. Game 1, really not one they want to remember, but game 2, back to form here.
Yeah, certainly a much better result for them, a much better result for NRG, though not as high as CLG, and they're going to be so happy about that. And CLG, I think as soon as you saw them take the building that they did and overlook kind of the number 3 or the number 2, depending on exactly how that pulls, they were pretty happy with getting cozy and overlook right away, and they played that slow. Also, got to give a big props to Madness, right? Because exactly where that portal was, played that low cover perfectly. That gave them all the opportunity in the world to play that and really time their push, and a lot of credit there to that call on playing that low cover. It gave them the perfect portal, and it was the definition of a safe portal.
Yeah, great portal from Madness. Great trigger discipline as well, coming in on that ultimate from Lou as well, holding on to that defensive bombardment for as long as possible. That really did do a lot of damage towards that end game. These are some of the highlights though, and there was so much fighting going on in this no-name respawn town outside of Fragment East, Andy, that we saw so many kills being exchanged, but that play from NRG was the play of the game for me.
I mean, look at that from Rocker, just cool, calm, and collected, doesn't panic at all. And then look at that. They make it look way too easy. But here's that battle that you saw Nathan going down, absolutely huge. Here's a CLG playing that low ground. They don't even take any hits from this bombardment, and they let the chaos just ensue, and they jump up. Look how much cover they have. They're able to slow play this, and they are the last party in, and they make it look pretty easy once again as they get those final kills.
Yeah, really, really solid bobble from them as well towards the end of the game. Lou playing that Gibraltar absolutely perfectly to make sure that they had that little bit of cover that nobody else had to work with. I've got to give credit, though, to TSM, the way they played that as well. I don't know if they didn't have any meds to work with, no shield cells, or they just didn't have the time, essentially, in that final moment to pop any of those. But to get into a top 3 position from where they were, incredibly impressive from them. But I love the way that things are starting to heat up here, Andy. You've got those final teams, you're getting into that top 10. It's all the big names involved that could be in that final amount of teams for that top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a much better performance from a lot of the teams that we were expecting more from in game number 1. They've stepped it up here. Still a few teams that we'll talk about after the break that still have a few points on the board. As we'll take a look at the scoreboard, that's when we'll jump into that. But there's a few teams that we need to see a little bit more from. And once we start to get to games 3 and 4, that's when you start to worry if teams are still on 5 points or less. That's putting themselves in some pretty difficult situations. So we'll look at all that and more in just a bit.
All right, well, we're going to take another break now before we get into game number 3. Don't go anywhere. We're almost at the halfway point. Things have been pretty fun so far, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody, to the GLL Masters Spring, and I'm still vibing off of the GLL intro, or what do you want to call it, break music. I think it's the best thing. I'm going to make a statement right now. GLL has the best music, interval music. That was what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Show Me the Money, banger. I can't remember what the other one was. Banger. Yep. I want to know if there's another one.
I got the other one. It's the one that goes do do. It's tell me what you're gonna do. There's the
Tell me
I mean,
what you're gonna do.
do
That one.
do. Chat knows. Chat knows. This is music.
I'm glad they do, because you going do is not giving an example of a song, Andy. I'm sorry. It's.
I would agree with you, but with this song, it is.
No, you're
with
right.
this song, it is. Chat knows. The songs went from music to memes to something of legend, and now it's coveted in the Apex community, the GLL music. So we love it.
Iconic. And what else is as well is the performance of Counter Logic Gaming in our second game of the day. We'll take a look at the scores from game number 2 to see who managed to total up the points and who is looking strong. And no surprise to see CLG at the top of that leaderboard, first place and 11 kills as well, 23 points for them. NRG managed to actually get into second place, Andy. So what a performance from them. A lot of KP obviously helping them along the way.
Yeah, NRG, you saw the route that they took. They took that northernmost route through Survey, through Refinery. They played edge there for quite some time, and it got them second place in the end. They're going to be very happy with that. And I will say, that's a dangerous place for NRG, because after almost every game, with the exception of game 4 or so, they were in 6th place for the winter playoffs. And you heard Rocker say it during your interview with him on set. They love sitting at a place like that. Now, that was specifically in reference to match point format, but still, they're going to be comfortable. They're going to be confident.
Yeah, they certainly are going to be, and you can see the overall standings after that second game as well. Sentinels down in 8th place. They're going to be looking to step it up a little bit, but the surprise for me is seeing Space Station Gaming at the moment down in 14th. Not the hottest start from them, but I'm sure with the long road ahead, they're going to be picking things up. HRN, though, in 3rd place. They're one of my favorite teams to watch. They always seem to be in and around there. You know what I mean? In and around the conversation about being in that top 5, top 3, whatever it might be. A great performance from them. But of course, we have another group going on as well, Andy, and some surprises, maybe, arguably, in this game. Season down in 20th place.
Yeah, Season in 20th is, it almost feels like maybe the scoreboard hasn't been updated with the amount of skill on that team. They've got a long road to go. We'll see what they're able to pull out. Obey in 11th, but the biggest surprise of that one certainly would have been Liquid in 10th as well. Not really as many points as you'd expect to see Liquid. Like we said, they had a 98-point quarterfinal as well for themselves. So they were looking very good here, warming up for these later rounds of the tournament. But we are back now to this group, both lobbies with a lot of talented teams. This one, though, with a few more signed teams. And big questions here. We also got to talk about it, but bottom 20 in second after some great performances, Vayne, Scurry, and Anmu. 3 players that, like I said, they've been around the Apex community for a long time and playing at a very high level, but so far a very good start from those guys as well.
A great start from them, and a great start from CLG and TSM as well. Sentinels, I want to see have a big game in this game number 3. I'm a big fan of the 3 players. I just want to see them pop off in one of these games and make sure that they're feeling comfortable. Because the last thing you want to do, Andy, is finish day 1 here. You remember we got 12 games of action to get through this semi-final, but after 6 games, if you're on the edge of that top 10, all of a sudden you're thinking overnight of the worst possible things, aren't you? Thinking, what if we don't make finals? It's a horrible place to find yourself.
It really is. And speaking of horrible places to find yourself, Lava City with no armor, also a very, very difficult place to find yourself. And it's BVN who has to try to pull out a miracle here. We'll see if he's going to be able to do it. Now pops over, and no, eventually will go down because it was pure chaos there.
This is HRN involved as well, and Arcane going to be last player alive. And I don't know if he's trying to get out of dodge or if he is in a 1v1 situation where things aren't going his way, but there's also RCO Esports here. So all of a sudden, Lava City, which seems to be a pretty quiet area most recently, it's uncomfortable, to say the least, especially for HRN.
Certainly, if we thought that the drops calmed down, we were mistaken. HRN was the team that held the Lava City drop, but the Coolcast deciding to come down there, and then RCO decided to change up their drop as well is very, very interesting, and it has caused a little bit of wild seeds here at Lava City Central.
Well, one of HRN did manage to get away, so even though Hill is going to be finished here, I wonder if RCO are just going to camp these banners and wait to see if anyone's going to come back, or if they're going to try and prioritize a rotation instead. Arcane, you can see making a wide wrap round to the west side of World's Edge here, trying to sneak maybe back in to pick up those banners and get HRN back into the game as a 4-3. But action to start off game number 3, and we're heading to the north side of World's Hedge. It's a new map that's coming out, just full of hedges. World Edge. And you can see Epicenter involved. You've got some Fragment West, but it looks like it could be a survey camp / train station end potentially.
Yeah.
Here, Andy.
Certainly, anything around that station, players are going to have their eyes on both that and survey. In terms of just west of the station, we've seen so many pulls there, or even just east as the hill starts to go down into survey. And then, of course, we've seen many hills on survey camp as well. And teams are going to have to hold those pretty quick. In terms of movement, this is going to go a little bit faster, like your game number 1, because game number 2, like we said, had a lot of end game positions that were favorable. But this game right here, if we take a look at areas like Outskirts Station and Survey, way less buildings to play for. It's still going to see a lot of teams that maybe have to get forced out all the way to Hill Valley, Skyhook, and things like that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure to see how teams do play this one. I imagine we might see a few more isolated fights on the edge as teams just take their time to move into position, see where the rest of the lobby kind of shakes out, see where is playable, where is not. But you are going to see a lot of teams actually end up holed up in West Fragment here, as that is pretty much the only area that has enough room to accommodate all of the people who are going to be trying to move in, all the teams who are trying to be finding some sort of location to hold down. But TSM taking up this ridge in Epicenter, a classic position we see them play a lot, especially when we see these northern circles, just trying to hold out as many teams as they can from that southern side of the lobby.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the real estate that we expected to see in terms of, this is when you want to be holding epicenter height. This is a little bit more of the moves and the end zone that you want to hold epicenter height, because look at the vantage point it gives a team like TSM over all of this area.
Well, now you're going to see Sentinels inside of this building. It looks like Sentinels might actually be having a little bit of a scrap here, as Cross is going to absolutely obliterate one. He's going to do some damage onto the second as well. And even though Cross did get the knock onto Blueberry Smalls here, didn't manage to get the finish, and now Resi's going to be moving back in. But the only problem with moving back in when there's Caustic barrels down is that it's going to slow your progress, and that is where you play Caustic. Even if you have a knock, you have the opportunity to deny teams pushing in, to hold them up. And now Sentinels, who were on the front foot, all of a sudden very much on the back foot. A third party is going to be coming around this corner as well, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. Need to be very careful. Here it comes, just like you said, they're going to be flying in. That's actually going to be Vibes, a team that we haven't talked too much about here, as they're going to put some kills on the board, and that's going to be Ack, Mooney, and Voltic.
You can see actually reps from TSM managed to get the kill on the finish onto Crust, so that's one KP going down in the favor of TSM. But again, Sentinels just caught in a difficult situation there on a rotation, weren't sure if they wanted to push in, and now you can see TSM, who are feeling extremely confident after the first 2 games, and they are making their move in. Reps, Imperial How, and Snipe Down looking to finish this fight that kicked off.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you expect to see from TSM, hot off of the performances they've had so far. They're going to continue right at that pace, and that's when TSM is absolutely at their most dangerous, as they're going to continue to loot up here and see what might be in store around these buildings.
These shots from Vibes are absolutely superb from the balcony, just raining down onto the cafe inside of West Fragment. Unfortunately for Mooney, didn't manage to get the finish there onto that player, and they managed to escape. But a little bit of an exchange here of attachments to go onto that Spitfire is going to give him a little bit more range than the one time. He's going to have the 1-2 now to just double his distance that he can be a little bit more accurate from. But again, we're seeing the importance of Caustic still at this time for teams who want to play inside of buildings, who want to try and play a little bit slower. If you can, even if you get knocked, Andy, you have the ability to get players back up on their feet.
Absolutely. We're starting to see a little bit more Spitfire. To be honest, the first 2 games, given the Spitfire's prevalence right now, we saw a little bit less Spitfire than I would have expected to see so far. Maybe just how the cards fell, but not surprising to see more of it here in this 3rd game. Certainly a weapon that right now, given where it sits in the meta and recent buffs, that has just been mowing, whether you're watching competitive or ranked or anything. You're going to see a whole lot of Spitfire action, and seeing a little bit more here as we take a look here. Those 3 teams, HRN, Sentinels, and Cool Cats, especially for the likes of Sentinels and HRN, not the place that they wanted to exit in our 3rd game.
You can see Space Station Gaming, who haven't had the greatest of starts. They're right at the north side of the map at the moment, and they could potentially be sandwiched in this tunnel. You can see that Zeratric's team are moving up behind. NRG inside of that building just to the west, as I get my compass out and put it firmly on my desk to work out where they were. They're in the building just to the west of where that train station is going to be. So they're going to be overlooking where they believe that finishing circle will be moving. CLG inside of Survey Camp as well. So both teams in very comfortable positions, you would say, but SSG having to be forced now to make that rotation through a Giddy bombardment as well. And it looks like they are not going to be let in without a little bit of resistance here.
Absolutely not. They are forced to bubble, going to be forced to heal as well, and they're going to be exposed from several angles. Looks like at least 2 teams engaging with them. They are going to go flying right in.
Yeah, this is aggression coming in. You can see maybe there's a third party opportunity for them, but unfortunately for Clarify, he gets dropped almost immediately, and now Outcast Gaming then defeated, who is the last player alive, trying to get the finish to maybe get the armor swap off and at least guarantee 1 KP will be taken down. But the north side of World's Edge, all of a sudden things were kicking off, and speaking of north side, it's west side who are moving in and finishing off those kills.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to fly in. They are the fourth party into that. And like you said, that was the definition of aggression. I don't think we were expecting to see that Octane pad fly out and a full yeet straight into the action. But yeet is what we saw as Westside taking a little bit of damage once again there. They're going to have to be careful as we take a look at a little bit of this height now that the guys on bottom 20 are holding. Once again, bottom 20 in second place right now. Really great performance across the first two games from them.
Yeah, very strong start from them. A long way to go, of course, but certainly something that will just give that confidence a little bit of a boost for the three players, as we see Zera Tricky and Mr. Hakulo trying to make their way inside of the safe zone now, having managed to pick up all of that loot that was down. So they'll have plenty of meds to work with, plenty of ammo, all of the things that you need to succeed in a team fight. And it looks like at the moment, Muffins might actually be trying to chase down one more player who might have scurried away just in the distance. But you can see a lot of teams making the bet here that it will be finishing around a survey. So real estate being taken up very, very quickly here. And there was actually a player who's managed to sneak away. We got a first rat cam of GLL Spring. I mean, GLL Masters Spring. I mean, it's been a while, but we're here.
It really has been a while. You have poems prepared?
No, not this time. I'll be honest. I
don't either.
When it comes to poetry.
Yeah, I don't either. We'll
such a last year thing anyway, wasn't it? You know what I mean?
Sure, we'll focus on the game. I guess it's cool to focus on the gameplay these days. We do want to note, you do see Muffins taking a route all the way up top around Rain Tunnel. Actually, right on your screen here. MST is actually the team that's going to be right on your screen, awaiting for a push like that. So right around Rain Tunnel is going to get pretty busy here, as it's all the way up north on survey. This is going to be the spot to watch, just because every survey building, of course, at this point has been taken. So areas like this are where the Pandas and Metro and 6 are going to be focusing.
And you can see they're trying to just, there's a real battle going on for this height at the northern side at the moment of World's Edge, because that is such a great position to hold down. Unfortunately here for MST, CLG are on their back at the moment. Alu with a little poke out of the building with a flatline is going to absolutely melt 6 and take him down. I'm not sure if he's going to be in a position to get rezzed or if he's going to be finished off, but at the moment Pandas is kind of stuck as well, and it's a difficult situation here for MST. Shots coming in from both sides, forced to back up, and actually Bubbly into zone, and they're going to take a wide rotation here through the tunnel.
Absolutely, they're going to, and I don't dislike the decision unless Muffins can get on the edge of it, but Muffins is also getting poked in the back, so he has to be careful now. And a little bit of a base trade scenario there for West Side. They're going to go ahead and grab that as that wide rotation goes in.
Keeping their eyes on where they are rotating as well. You can see the scan coming in just to make sure they're not going to double back and cause too many problems here for West Side, but a great job from them. Like we mentioned, the fourth party, they came in earlier to clean up that fight on the north side of World's Edge, as we are about to see round 2 close in. Some more teams that are moving in from the southern side of the map will be forced to fight here. We've seen all the action from the north, and just looking here at the southern side, looks like most teams have actually made their way in, so everyone's going to be pretty comfortable from now. There's not going to be too much action going down. It's more prodding and poking inside of survey camp, trying to level up evos for those teams who have located themselves.
Certainly, yeah, and you have to take a look there. Take a look just at NRG still holding that southernmost point of this, or you could say the northwesternmost point of epicenter as well. Keep in mind, they do also have players that are pushing across there in terms of all the PB sandwiches that are pushing just south of them. So we'll keep an eye on that. But West Side, once again, back in the tunnel.
Yeah, real aggression coming in from Zeratrick here as well. He did a little bit of damage, but he surely had to be expecting that there was going to be some response. His teammates moving in, though, and doing a really, really good job to do the work that is necessary. And somehow, even though with him taking so much damage, Muffins did a great job to exchange the damage himself, and somehow they managed to get out of that without any of their players getting knocked. Yeah,
Mr. Hakula with a great flank there. I don't think the bubble player was expecting that, as they're able to sweep in and pick up those kills. Very well done. And they're going to control the tunnel for now. We knew that would be a highly contested zone. Like you said, that whole northern part, especially with the options it gives you. Because right now, at this point in the game from Rain Tunnel, you could still take, like we saw another team do, you could still take these big swinging skyhook moves. You can cut through Rain Tunnel and then use that, the latest kind of angle to get into survey. You can still go all the way up north. So they're going to be really happy, West Side, just to hold that down for now. They've still got options.
Interesting moments here. Those teams who were inside Fragment obviously going to have to move. Most of them have. You can see that one team that is left in. RCO making their way in as well, trying to move through Epicenter, but with TSM up on that height, going to be very, very difficult to do. You can also see the PB Sandwiches and NRG might be thinking about having a little bit of a battle, as CLG, you can see Madness is actually managing to craft some meds for them, I would imagine, at the moment. That's the cheekiest portal I have seen in a long time.
Absolutely. I was wondering, you know, I was thinking when we saw the CLG get that knock up to the north, I was thinking this is a little bit too risky of a portal. They're not going to port for those kills because their home in survey camp is so valuable. But I gotta say, between CLG and NRG and Sweet and Madness, we're seeing some creative portals from these guys, and that is indeed a nice little craft portal.
And again, it's just showing the value of Wraith. You know, a lot of conversation about if Wraith is still as valuable as she once was, and you could say arguably not as valuable, but still has those abilities to pull off plays like we've just seen. You know, no other characters could be able to do that without being able to get back and take no damage. You can see TSM here just essentially rang up on top of epicenter structure, just waiting for a team maybe to move in, maybe just waiting for some information to go down, waiting for a fight to break out to third party.
Yep, not in any rush, and also love the discipline. There's no need to be getting poked and taking the poke damage at this stage. Like you said, they're going to play this right. They're going to exchange some heals, make sure the inventories are balanced, and instead just play really safe here. There's no point in bat or two just because you want to be able to see what's across the map. Instead, they're going to time this well. Back to Wraith, though, still in NA in the Winter Circuit playoffs, and 85.7% pick rate. So, like you said, still seeing so much Wraith in play, and for good reason, though. Still such a viable legend.
We're seeing a few shots being exchanged here, and it's more warning shots and a little bit of a flexing of the muscles from teams at the moment, just trying to see if they can land damage to either level up evos or waste inventory of the teams who are in the surrounding areas. Most teams, as you say, safe inside this build, of the ring at the moment. And we're going to see a pretty quiet moment here, to be honest with you. This ring's going to be very quiet. Not too many teams are actually left in the lobby. We see only 13 teams now left in our game number 3. So a much hotter start to this lobby, with more teams having to traverse across open ground. And all those fights that went down in Fragment West means that 7 teams have already been eliminated, which means that there's plenty more room to play with.
Yeah, you just saw RCO take the port to low on TSM, so we're just going to see TSM and RCO just on top of each other for now. It's going to create an interesting situation when RCO needs to, well, when either of them or both of them need to move, but for now, it won't really be anything that is anything that TSM worries about. But TSM has an interesting choice here because of the ground they hold. They have the opportunity and really are the decision makers in who they want to put the damage on once they need to move. So a little bit of a pressure on this decision making.
Yeah, difficult for them to move now, especially with RCO playing underneath, because if they drop, then they're in trouble, because RCO are going to have those first shots and be able to land them and cause all sorts of problems. But if they hold the high ground, you can see now that they're not going to be able to, quite simply because that ring has moved over to Survey Camp now, where the likes of CLG are set up at the moment. So interesting moments here for TSM and how they want to play this. PB Sandwich is just below them as well, as we get a close-up look. Don't get any close-up. That's quite enough of Caustic. I mean, nobody likes Caustic, to be honest.
You're offending a lot of Caustic mains there. All of the Reddit, of the Caustic mains subreddit is offended, and they've got like 14,000 Caustic mains on there. You got to be careful, man.
I like to make enemies. Anyway, back to TSM and the moves that they're going to have to make. RCO underneath them is going to certainly be an interesting few moments here, and a really big few moments in this game number 3 to see how they play. RCO, wouldn't be surprised to see them make that move. They have actually made a move outside now, trying to use those structures, that building structure just underneath, to try and avoid any damage, but also doing a good job here. You can see where they're looking. They're trying to hold out TSM. They know that TSM have to drop down at some point, have to rotate. And by getting ahead of them on that rotation, they've made TSM's job so hard now.
Yeah, they really have. Like we said, TSM, they had a lot of options, but now with RCO's move, you saw PB Sandwiches go west. You actually saw Smooth Bananas go northeast. They actually took the route closer to Refinery all the way outside. So it's now TSM have kind of put themselves in an interesting place here, with Vibes also playing low as well.
Yeah, Vibes could have an influence on this as well. You can see them moving to the bottom of the epicenter structure as TSM have now made their move, and they've got a care package right next to them as well if they want to try and pick that up to see if there's anything to work with. But you can see at the moment that it's not comfortable here for TSM. They're going to have to make some interesting decisions on this rotation. And one thing they did extremely well in the Winter Circuit that we were discussing before we kicked off today, Andy, it was their ability to somehow rotate ahead of the trouble that seemed to be brewing in front of them.
Absolutely, and had TSM stayed up top there and held longer, I think they would have found themselves eventually in that trouble. But instead, they want to be the decision makers. They want to be the playmakers here. But here's bottom 20, our second place team, in trouble.
Yeah, they really are in trouble. Onmu down to only 10 or so HP. Somehow manages to stay alive for now. He's got the ring closing behind him. He's also got a couple of players in front of him, but somehow he managed to at least pick up the KP. as he hit that final Eva shot onto the player that was in front of him. Westside now making their move down. They should have a comfy place to play here. As you can see that they've got those rocks as cover. TSM now making a move in, and the TSM RCO fight will be continuing here. You can see the snipe down managed to get those meds off, and now the 3v3 battle will commence.
Yeah, take a look at this. This battle seemed to be inevitable in the end as we see players going down here, and it looks like right now TSM looking very strong in this. It's all up to Bam, who's going to try to get away. A little bit of heals going down for TSM, but they should be able to get this last one out in the feed. Not just yet, though.
Yeah, TSM did a really good job in these team fights at the moment, and they just seem to be wiping absolutely everyone that seems to be getting near them. One thing that I want to point out is Snipe Down using the Mozambique with the hammer points. He loves it, and that thing hits extremely hard. And if you're on controller as well, you get into those close range battles, you can do so much damage so much quickly. So it's good to see. We always talk about, you know, legend meta, weapon meta. Even the Mozambique has a place these days.
It's true. Make sure you check out Snipe Down's Twitch clips, his Twitter clips, because the man has been absolutely on the Mozambique. But now taking a look at NRG, and do they ever look good? It seems like when there's chaos around the map, somehow NRG always in a great position in terms of not just positioning, but also armor, vantage point, and everything else that comes with it. Right now, just doing a little bit more damage here. 7 squads left.
And Rocco with a Prowler in hand, and we know how dangerous that is towards these end zone as well. CLG now making their move up into the high ground here and taking this height and taking the ridge overlooking NRG. So a massive battle maybe about to go down, as NRG are in a good position. They are safe for now, but CLG making that move outside of survey camp to establish themselves up on this height is a strong move of dominance from them.
Absolutely. Now you see Lou gets back just a bit, gets his heels off. Vaxlon watching that sightline the whole time, and now Madness and Lou actually going to go ahead and look down. Looks like their building and survey is still open as well, so they weren't even porting out. We're going to keep an eye on that just to see how that all plays out as we take a look at Cruelty as well.
Team Cruelty having to portal back, but unfortunately they're going to have to take it right back again, as now TSM are actually in a fight with NRG. As you can, the Sweet has been eliminated, Snipe Down has been eliminated as well, and here comes the third-party attempt from Counter Logic Gaming. They move in. Unfortunately, they got hit by an EMP on their way in, so even though this might seem a simple fight, it looks a little bit more difficult than it was initially.
Absolutely. Now, and in the end, you just, like you said, you do see reps going down there and the feed Snipe Down as well. So just 4 squads left. CLG still looking strong here. They're going to get Madness back up.
Yeah, Madness will get back to his feet. There's no other challenges in the area. They did such a good job to show dominance and show presence on that high ground, and they were always looking for that third-party opportunity, which is so vital towards these end games. Even though it's great to be in a strong position and hold down an area of the map, if you can take an area of height, an area of power on the map, and also put pressure onto teams moving in, you're going to have success, as CLG have shown.
Absolutely. Two rank 1 pub here, a team that we were following off on that earlier game 1, but we haven't seen too much from them. They're going to get back in their survey building and try to make something happen here, but G7 Dank getting hit from all sorts of angles.
Yeah, Draco's going to be the last player alive, just trying to finish these downs. Unfortunately, he will be beamed as well, and CLG just kind of running shop at the moment on the map. Every single team that is below them is getting beamed. They're picking up kills left, right, and center as well. And it looks like it could be back-to-back, although Madness has to be careful here. He's going to be forced to use his Q to retreat. But that, again, the beauty of Wraith always has that escape mechanic to make sure they get out alive.
Oh, man, does it ever feel like that Q is forever compared to how long it used to be? Madness has to just jump around there. And as we go back to Crummy, speaking of a Q, he's going to pop right back up, spend that Q, and also pop a med kit here with just 3 teams left in the game here with 6 seconds left on the close.
A few moments left for these teams. It looks like... unfortunately for Fury and Rambo, it looks like their time might be up unless the other 2 teams do establish themselves into a fight. But it looks like CLG trying to get a little bit aggressive. You can see Vaxlon and Luke kind of overlooking everything that's happening. And as this fight is going down, CLG once again make a perfect rotation. The portal coming in from Madness, it always seems to be in the right spot. And now My Little Phony, even though they've won that fight, there's only 1 player alive, and CLG are going to desperately try and swarm in here, finish this off, and go back-to-back, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to play this very calm and collected.
Fury getting knocked, though.
Ooh, well, maybe we speak too soon here. I was going to say, I'm expecting to see them play this calm and collected now, but maybe a straight 2v2 now.
Yeah, unfortunately, they've got to work their way out of zone. It's looking a little bit more difficult than it could have been, and CLG will take home game number 3 in the GLL Masters Spring, and back-to-back for them, Andy. Just a great display, again, of not only an early rotation being so effective, but how to play endgame and assert dominance on the map.
Yeah, absolutely, and then that's exactly what they did. And like you said, even the little things, right? With you saw Madness there porting out to be able to craft and then bring a few heals and goodies back from the shop. And in the end, CLG, as we take a look at a few highlights, they back-to-back, and they do it quick. Keep in mind with these with this many talented teams in the lobby, pulling off something like a back-to-back here with the likes of TSM, NRG, HRN, CLG, Sentinels, SSG, the list goes on. This is a very, very stacked semifinal lobby. So to win 2 back-to-back this early on is a pretty big statement.
Oh, 100%. And we were talking about how, you know, at the very highest level now of North American competitive Apex, when you get to those finals lobbies, it feels like any one of 12, 13, 14, 15 teams can actually take home the title. And we've seen multiple winners of all of these major tournaments that we've had in the ALGS recently. It just seems to be who's hot on the day. And the wonderful thing about this is we're going to know who is in the best form at the end after these 12 games over the next 2 days. But final moments there, CLG do take home the win, although it got a little bit shaky towards the end as they did lose one player in that fight. But I mean, the team unfortunately trapped inside had to make their way through ring, and the door was the only exit, and it was being watched by an EVA 8.
Yeah, I was going to say it's hard enough to push out of a building where a ring is closing up into CLG. It's even harder when you've got death boxes stacked too high and you have to kind of awkwardly crouch hop your way through them. That was not going to happen. But in the end, like you said, CLG with the back-to-back, and things are going to start to get interesting here because CLG is going to, with all the points that they just stole, they're kind of starting to starve the lobby of points that teams like PB Sandwiches, Cruelty, etc., but even bottom 20 are looking for at this stage. So things are going to get interesting here, and they certainly CLG made it pretty difficult for the rest of the lobby.
It's going to be interesting. It's a great point you make as well with the points being stolen away, especially for those teams who are looking to get into that top 10 with not too many points available. 1 or 2 points could be the difference when we get to the end of the semi-finals tomorrow. But for now, we finished game number 2. Game number 3 is just around the corner. We're going to go for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody. I've got to own up. I mean, Andy did quite rightly correct me in the break there by reminding me that we've had 3 games of Apex Legends already gone. It's gone by quickly, is my point, okay? It felt like we'd only had 2, but we've had 3, okay? We had TSM win game 1. We had CLG go back-to-back. Now it's game 4. We're past 3 games. It's now 4. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it. That's why you're here.
And that is why. They actually told me, they said, hey, we don't really need you to cast this event. Onset just tends to mess up the numbers a lot. So if you could just spot him on that, that'd be great.
It really is so true, and you know that better than anyone when it comes to numbers. Well, speaking of numbers, let's take a look at the scores from our game number 3 and see who came out on top. We know that CLG obviously took home first place, and they picked up 5 kills along the way, but not a huge amount of kills for them. More about positioning for them in that game, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be happy with that regardless. But like you said, 5 kills there. They're going to be pretty pleased, but nothing like a blowout game like we've seen from them. 17 points though, very, very happy. Cruelty stepping up on a team that we've talked about throughout the day that we are expecting to see good things from. That's Scissors, Crummy, and Oi Senpai. Definitely expecting to see things from them. And My Little Phony finally breaking out just a little bit. Those are some big names as well. Fury, Rambo, and Phony making a statement there in that game.
Let's take a look at the total leaderboard then, see how things are stacking up. And TSM actually on top here, even though CLG did take home back-to-back wins, and that's because they've been putting up a heck of a lot of kills in that first 3 games. 25 for them at the moment puts them in 48 points. Bottom 20 still inside that top 3. HRN, but Sentinels, I was talking about them being on the edge. They're down in 10th place at the moment.
I would need someone like Kano or someone like Sing Labs or some stats master from the Apex community, but how many times has a team that is on the receiving end of not winning both games? For example, Counterlogical Gaming winning 2 games, however they're not leading. The fact that a separate team is leading after not winning 2 out of 3 is pretty wild. An 8-point lead. So like you said, Onset, to have 25 kills like that, to have 48 points in first place when the second place team has won 2 of those games, that's a big statement from TSM.
Yeah, and a little bit of a scary situation here for Space Station Gaming as well, down in 16th position after 3 games, so a quarter of a way through our semi-finals, and really struggling to find any kind of rhythm at the moment.
Yeah, they really are. And Space Station, a team that we've been watching. Now, keep in mind, they got 10th at the Winter Circuit playoffs, but that's still a team of powerhouse players that can pop off at any moment. But they have the second half of today to get a little bit more points on the board. They're going to want those to go into tomorrow, just feeling a little bit better to get out of that place that they're in.
Yeah, they do land right on the western side of the map as well, so maybe those first 3 games not quite to their liking as far as ring location is concerned. 2 very eastern circles and then 1 to the north, almost completely opposite to what we did see at the playoffs. So we have to see if anything's gonna be mixing up here, but we're gonna jump on board with Counterlogic Gaming to start off with here, and no argument for me. Back-to-back winners of our last 2 games. They're looking really strong at.
Yeah, absolutely. They've had Skyhook. Not only have they been dropping there, of course, all day, but also their ALGS Winter Circuit playoffs drop as well, where they saw a pretty good performance there. Like we said, 4th place for them in the Winter Circuit playoffs, looking to do even better here. Right now, sitting in second after back-to-back wins. Very good momentum for them. They want to finish the day strong.
Yeah, they do indeed, and I'm sure that they will want to keep that momentum going and that consistency. Hey, what's up, Pathfinder? How you doing?
Yes, Pathfinder.
That was a
Hey.
nice little look at him, wasn't it? Hey,
Yeah, and a nice little hello
do you know
from
what?
Path,
Just
too.
puts a smile on my face, Pathfinder. He's a good guy.
He really is.
Well, we're going to have a look at this circle now, and you can see another eastern circle. Excuse me. This one down on the south, though. So for some of those teams who are on the western side of the map, they might have a little bit more of an opportunity as we see a history repeating. It's actually, no, not history repeating itself. We're going to see a fight actually here at Geyser going down, and those shots from the scout are going to be absolute beams, and that is going to be one squad already eliminated from the lobby. Once again, interesting to see that I feel like one team maybe hasn't found their home yet, and it's constantly changing up their drop spot where they... It's an interesting one.
It's exactly what it is. Is Buff Pathfinder, who we've been tracking, who have been on the unfortunate receiving end of a lot of those battles and those early knocks. And then you're exactly right on. So that's the team it is. It's Buff Pathfinder, Raze, Bursty, and iCaps that are still trying to find out exactly where they can drop. And unfortunately, they are hearing seats taken time and time again, and as they will be the first team to exit. But talk about a long road for the likes of CLG, for the likes of Westside. They've got to come all the way down here. And I'm starting to believe the conspiracy theory on set that you brought earlier, because here we are with this many matches down, and after an entirely Western ALGS Winter Circuit playoffs, we are now seeing an entirely Eastern GLL Masters Spring semifinal, and we are going to go east once again now, but for the first time to the southeast.
I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory or maybe we just have more power than we realize when it comes to this sort of thing. You know, I don't know what's well, I saw that as well. I'm ignoring it, but we'll see these teams on the rotation right now. Sentinel is a real good opportunity for them to find themselves in a good position, but an interesting circle as well, Andy. You're looking at the likes of Lava City being involved, but it is looking like maybe a sort finish here or just outside of it on the tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're already seeing teams definitely getting down towards there. There's going to be a lot of battles coming away from Tree, etc. Sentinel's actually going to balloon out right away, despite that teams kind of come and converging and conversing there on sorting there, instead of actually going to go towards Lava City North tracks to balloon out. And you're going to see HRN might be waiting for them there.
And there might be indeed. And Sentinels don't have the greatest of armors to work with as well. Whereas you look at HRN, you got a purple and two blues to work with.
Yeah.
But TSM now making their way towards Sorting Factory as they move their way south here on World's Edge and putting some shots down on another team that's trying to make their rotation. So TSM, again, not just happy to move across the map, but trying to show dominance. And hey, snipe down, he smells blood right now.
Absolutely going to fly right through underpass. Going to see if there's anything down at Geyser, but it looks like doesn't, and decide to get called off. And going to just go back because TSM's actually fighting here all the way back here at the ridge instead with some good damage. That's going to be OI Senpai of Cruelty that goes down first, and they're going to continue fighting onto these ridge buildings. Here we go. Here's Hal. Perfect timing there. Going to fly right through and ready to fight.
Yeah, he's trying to finish off these kills as well. He's trying to beat this player up, and I mean, you've got to give a huge amount of credit here to TSM. Not only the way that they're trying to rotate, but they are bullying people in the lobby at the moment. Every time they see people in front of them, usually you'll see some other teams that Scissors is going to be taken down by Hal. Other teams might think, oh, there's a team here, we need to try and rotate, but that knock and that pick from Reps just opened things up, and instead of second guessing themselves, TSM just went straight in.
Absolutely. That's what you love to see, and to be honest, it's during different seasons, different phases of professional Apex, we've seen that. Early days TSM, early days Sentinels, we saw that when Complexity was one of the only teams, or the only team running Bloodhound. We saw that bullying teams, and nice to see TSM playing so confident here in the semifinals.
Well, CLG are making their rotation at the moment as well, but there is actually a team just holding them out. You can see there's playing the choke at the moment. There's another team on the choke just towards Geyser as well. So CLG are going to have some decisions to make here. They have to be careful. As you see, that team actually going to be moving maybe up, trying to play a little bit more sneaky than CLG might expect from them. But CLG making that rotation, going to be maybe able to sneak through that Geyser choke before they get any shots landed onto them. So again, CLG, their rotations are so good. They're so good at timing and anticipating when that opening is there. And look, now they're through and now they're comfortable.
And keep in mind, CLG, you saw it, Madness was all the way north rain tunnel looting. They were at the literal northernmost point they could have been on this move, and they have already made their way halfway across the map. Like you said, Onset, wasting no time here. They're going to fly down through Underpass all the way through Geyser. A little bit of potential resistance here, though we'll have to see if they run into Smooth Bananas.
Now, speaking of resistance, though, Space Station Gaming, who really haven't had a good start here, are on the receiving end of some big shots as well. And it's going to be NRG who are involved in this fight. And Clarify is going to decide to just pop the ult and just get out of it in a moment, because Frex has been knocked. He's going to be eliminated by NRG, but I think this is kind of a show of respect and power coming in from NRG, because they saw Space Station Gaming, they held their position, and now they're looking to move in and finish off the kills.
Absolutely. And here goes Sweet on that Octane, just holding forward and ready to go. You saw he even hit for 19 flesh there as well. Looks like just moments away from getting that extra kill as well, but now just going to do some nice damage. Nice little break and going to pop back.
And try and finish off that down as well. So great shots coming in from Sweet. And then one thing we always talk about is his IGL skills. This man is an absolute mechanical god as well. If this man gets a Kraber in his hand, in my opinion, top one Kraber in the game. There, I said it. Put it on a t-shirt and tweet Sweet, which is very difficult for me to say, to let him know that is what has been said. You see, I managed to get some good words out there, and then forgot how to speak again, Andy. It's a real problem.
If it's any consolation, Mark, I do want to buy that shirt if you make it
good
with
profit. At least I'll come out of this with a bit of, pocket money. That's good news.
Taking a look here at CLG and Geyser once again, they have made that move, and like we said, they wasted no time coming all the way from Skyhook and beat teams that actually dropped much closer to this final zone into Geyser. Now they're not gonna want to spend too much time here on this outer edge on set. You can expect that CLG will want to move a little bit faster.
I think one thing that CLG are aware of, though, is there's multiple teams in this area. So CLG playing very quiet, very sneaky. You can see just playing inside of this building, waiting for the carnage to go down. And now it wouldn't surprise me to see CLG maybe make a move in as these knocks do go down. As soon as one knock goes down and these kills do start to be exchange between these teams, expect CLG to fly in. There is the scan, and now you can see Outcast Gaming having to back up. That's a bit of a prayer, a wing and a prayer of a jump pad. Defeated, unfortunately, will go down, and there you go. Look who's in the kill feed. CLG playing it perfectly again, recognizing the situation that was occurring on the map, and then making it work to their advantage.
Yeah, they really did play that perfectly. And when they turned back to the tunnel, when you're running away from CLG and you find another team that's just sitting there gatekeeping tunnel, they knew that that was disaster, and it was a full YOLO jump pad, like you said, to just try to get out of there. More scans coming in here for Vax, and they will go ahead and make that push as well. And Madness will actually cancel the heal because they are ready to push again. They find the last players.
Gonna be Crispy Bacon eliminated, and CLG continue their dominance, and we give them so much credit for how they rotate and how quick they are to get to zone, but it's not like they don't know how to play edge as well. And this is a great example of it. I think every single team now who is at the top of Apex Legends in the competitive scene in all regions, you can't be a one-dimensional team anymore. And the ones who have managed to evolve their game to be able to play different situations are the ones that have that consistent success.
Yeah, man, do they look great so far, coming off of back-to-back wins. And then you said it perfectly, on. So they're going to play that slow. They're going to get into Geyser. They're going to get the lay of the land. And then once that first damage went in, once the proper opener went in, they went ahead, wasted no time, and played that so perfectly. You even see getting those last two kills. If you just catch these small little details, Madness was popping a bat, but the second the call was made to push on that cargo crate, you see him cancel the heal. They fly right in together. So they're right on the same page, and really impressed with what we're seeing from CLG so far. Let's take a look here. Perfect timing there on the observers to take a look at exactly what Lava City's looking like here as we take a look at Sentinels holding height.
Yeah, Sentinels are holding height, but there was a fight maybe going down in the tunnel, the Vault tunnel, between NRG, and I didn't quite catch who the other team was. It might have been RCO, who were trying to kind of fight for that tunnel and see who could hold it. As NRG now make their move in. Great work from the observing team again. And look at this. Sweet once again with the opening. The flatline in hand. Sweet gets two. It's Nando and Bam are taken out. And Sweet at the moment just seems to be playing like a man possessed.
He absolutely is. He's not waiting around at all. Just flying in with that Octane that you expect a player like Sweet to be able to do here as we take a look once again back at Sentinels. They're going to keep things slowed down, but know that the area around Lava City is going to get a lot more busy and a lot hotter as they're going to continue to see teams converge on this area.
Sentinel in the hands of Retzi as well. So a couple of shots with that as we saw him actually pick up 1 KP just a few moments ago. I'm going to be able to level up those Evos nice and quickly. Only 118 points for him to get that up to a purple. And NRG poking that corner as well. They would have been given the information with that shot from Retzi that he'll be overlooking as well. So even with that information, look what NRG have done. immediately decided to have a little poke, see who's up there, and the information that was Retzi as well shows them that Sentinels are the team on top of this building. So they've rotated away. They've played it smart. They aren't showing, they aren't poking. They're probably going to rotate round to the north now and play from, round to the south, excuse me, of World's Edge and rotate in towards Lava City that way.
Right, and that's going to give them a lot of free space to play with. Just if you take a look at kind of that North Dome area, there's not a ton of cover, but it does offer them a lot of routes and a lot of ways into Lava City in terms of just the terrain they want to take, and then they're going to have new options for which building in Lava City they might want to go for. But great point on set about that scout. They're going to get a quick peek. They're going to see that it's Sentinels. That's going to tell them, one, it's important to know, like you said, that it's Sentinels, and they're going to then make a decision on, do we push them based on the players? But it's also going to tell them the comp right away. It's going to give them so much information so they can get a little bit of a more informed rotation. As we actually take a look, right now they're holding tunnel, and it looks like Sweet's going to scout a bit before they make that push.
And what Sweet's doing right here is clearing out the southern side of the map. He knows now that there is nobody who is rotating behind them from Dome. There's no teams there, so they can completely control that area. And if they wanted to, if these two teams who are on the west at the moment decide they can hold those teams out, they can then rotate in late while all of the other teams move in from the northern side. And they essentially have a free rotation in. So all of these things going through the mind of NRG right now, that small decision, it multiplies, right? It turns into a big play in the game, and something maybe that doesn't get pointed out to the casual viewer, how important such a micro decision can be.
Absolutely. And PB Sandwich is here, I believe, with, let's see, yeah, 2 rank 1 pub is going to be the battle here that we're now keeping an eye on at launch site.
We force back here. And it looks like Pow Pow and Bowser might be thinking about pushing through zone here to finish off those kills, but the heals should be popped in time. They're actually going to move around the outside and try and catch those players off. Sorcerer a little bit behind here, so have to be careful that initial damage being done going their way, but you can see the choke that they're having to work through, and it's not the biggest of spaces. However, a big 59 is going to get a crack, and all of a sudden this team is completely caught. Pow Pow going to pop the Bloodhound ult as well and try and make his move in now, but no knocks on the board, and it's looking like a little bit of an awkward fight all of a sudden, but they're caught in a corner and the beams are coming in from Pow Pow, but forced to back up again.
Wow, like you said, not exactly what they expected here, and actually taking a whole lot of damage, all of them being forced to heal. And actually on the other side, 2 rank 1 pub maintaining most of their shields. They're going to pop some heals as well, and they're definitely in an awkward position. But like you said, certainly expecting a much easier fight there, and now we've got even more parties here.
Yeah, I don't know if Muffin's meant to take that portal or not. I think he might have got dragged into it by accident and ended up going straight into the eye of the storm, so to speak, as MST now move in as well, as Pandas with the Eva 8 is going to do a fair bit of damage. Zeratricky going to be taken down. Mr. Hakulo going down as well. And while all this is going down as well, I saw Rocker in the kill feed for NRG picking up a kill with a triple take. So all of a sudden, you can see how difficult the rotations become for these teams who are playing late. They have to force their way in. And when this team's already in that zone, it just becomes easy pickings.
Yeah, Panders barely gets in the door there, but he will be able to live to tell the tale. And like you said, some very weird battles here from 2 rank 1 pub. They're still alive here. They're actually going to go ahead and get the res in the end. Muffins was able to take down G7 Dank, but then we did see a team kind of swap in to get those kills. So somehow in the corner on set, what looked like it was certain death for 2 rank 1 pub, they actually hold the corner of that launch site building and they fight out of it.
Yeah, they do an amazing job, to be honest with you. They managed to retreat, they managed to hold off, they managed to do damage, they did everything you had to do to survive. And this is what I was talking about earlier, the moves coming in from NRG, desperate to hold out any team that's moving in from the southeast of World's Edge. If they can do that, they will have a free rotation. Sweet, though, even though he's doing that damage, has to back up from this situation just to make sure that he's got support of his teammates. But now that they know that team is there, they will focus their attention accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Sweet still playing confident, not having that Q in that situation, somehow was able to stay alive despite being in the line of fire with very low on HP. But he'll get all his heals off. You saw him pop that Phoenix, and they'll be able to reset as well. Still 2 rank 1 pubs still stuck here trying to fight out of these buildings. They've put a little bit of KP on the board, but they know they've got big battles coming up behind them.
Yeah, they do indeed. They managed to get one knock, and unfortunately for G7 Dank, it looks like pressure will be coming in as well. He's got the zone to contend with. He's managed to pick up the banner, I believe, of his teammate as well, but he's going to have to see if he can get those heals off quickly, because otherwise he's going to be falling to the storm, and it looks like that will be the end, unfortunately. For G7 Dank, he goes dark, and now you're going to see TSM involved in a fight here on this building.
Oh yeah, trying to actually push this Lava City North, excuse me, there on CLG, and this is going to be really tough for them, especially if CLG starts to get that opening damage.
Well, they get a little bit of damage, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Madness comes in, and here comes the third party now, Vibes, hearing the damage that has gone down, and one player was left alive, I believe, for TSM. Snipe down, taken down, Reps taken down, and there's How getting out of dodge to try and survive here for TSM inside of the top 7.
Just absolutely flying out, like you said. He's going to go ahead and be careful because he has to watch out for that Lava City North angle. There you go, under the tracks. He's going to be able to now scout around, and we'll have to see how How plays this. Keep in mind, TSM still your #1 team after 3 games, so lots to play for How. He's going to want to try to get as many points as he can out of this match. But like you said, on set, Vibes actually being the third party to the CLG TSM party, which is one that you know is going to be loot packed, and then we saw How absolutely yeet straight out of there on that third person cam, and he's going to just hug tracks for now.
Yeah, he's going to be comfortable for now, and he also have a jump pad back up for when that next rotation has to be made. And obviously playing as Octane as well, he has the stim available to increase that speed as he tries to find his way in towards Lava City. But I mean, the wonderful thing here for TSM fans is the fact that, you know, How's got a free rotation pretty much. There's nobody on the eastern side of World's Edge right now towards Lava City, so How should be pretty comfortable. He should find somewhere to play at least, and it's kind of surprising, to be honest, that we've only got 6 teams alive at this point in the game. It's been carnage in this game.
Yeah, you have to wonder what How does here, if he just hugs tracks, or if he can actually kind of hug tracks all the way down. Like you said, along the eastern side, there's no one to the east, as you can't see on this exact screen, but there is no team to the east. He could go all the way down to Lava City Station. He's got options. Sentinel still holding. You're going to see My Little Phony also kind of holding Dome right now, and then Vibes is going to be that team to the north, and NRG still cozied up and just waiting to see. Right now, just gatekeeping, wondering if a team could still rotate through here, and it's wise of them to keep an eye on their back. But at this stage, of course, they don't know this, but at this stage, it looks like there will not be any teams that are going to try to make that wide of a rotation. Certainly would be the case.
When we overlook where all these teams are located at this point, you can see a TSM Imperial How just popping up over those tracks once more. But the game changer once again is in the hands of Sentinels. You saw it in the background there. They have a Kraber to work with. And if they can hit a couple of shots, either one knock onto NRG, that slows their rotation down. They can take a huge amount of damage, but a fight going down under the tracks here as we're inside our final few teams, and this is going to decide. That team under the tracks is in a difficult position to fight from it.
Oh, they absolutely are. That's actually going to be Cool Cats. That's going to be Fine 9 that you just saw. That's down there with the appropriate tag there with Rats, as they're going to continue to rain the damage there on Ava, BVN, and Fine 9.
Yeah, it should be a clear swipe for them, and you can see in the background as well that My Little Phony are overlooking all this action going down. They should have a third-party opportunity. However, the Horizon Gravelift is going to get them out for just a few moments, and My Little Phony going to be forced to actually back up and bubble. And that team looks like they might have actually managed to stay alive a little bit longer than they would have expected, as Fury has to get back into the bubble. Unfortunately for How, that will be TSM eliminated, as the Kraber once again finds his dome. But look at this cheeky position. Do you see that Bloodhound up in the skies?
I do. That is a spot and a half, as you said. We have to see. Maybe the obs have the feed on exactly how got caught out. We'll keep an eye on that, as he was on the receiving end. But that will be it for TSM, like you said. But right now, My Little Phony going to try to drop off the tracks too.
The Sentinels in a great position to win this game.
Is this dual Kraber?
This could be a massive moment for them. If Sentinels can hit a shot, then all of a sudden things could change. You're right. It's dual Kraber.
Dual Kraber action. This is what we signed up for.
Don't both miss. Make sure you both hit. Oh, a little poke there from the Gibby. Only one bullet to work with here for Crush, though. So even though it's dual Kraber just for 2 moments or so,
yeah,
still what you want to see. The line. Oh, and it doesn't matter if he's got 1 bullet, because he makes it work.
Beautiful little shot there. That's going to force them back even further there. NRG still trying to make something happen from that sight line, and it seems like it was an inevitable battle on set. We talked about how they had known that Sentinels was the team that's up top, and they got that info a long time ago, and it's still the battle that they have to take on.
Yeah, NRG should manage to get that player back up, but what a shot that was. I mean, just absolutely ripped the head off the player trying to rotate and have a little peek, and that is enough warning to the rest of the lobby that you do not peek any of these Sentinels players when they got a Kraber in their hands.
Looks like Sunox just saw maybe some cankles coming into that building, and is going to be aware that a team could be low behind them. So
the team Horizon in up on them as well, and all of a sudden things are looking bad for Sentinels. Senox got caught off guard by that Horizon Q, and it's Vibes, who have been the ultimate third-party team so far, who come in and look to wipe Sentinels, and that is going to give the opening to the team below now to move in.
Oh man, Vibes is in a tough spot too as well. Needs to be careful. We'll see if Mooney he actually falls off a height. Not sure if he meant to fall off a height, but now NRG comes flying in as well.
NRG doing such a good job in this game to bide their time, to pick the moment to push and to execute on what they've been looking to do for this entire game. Now there's going to be another Horizon queue up. The beams are going to be coming in from Sweet once more. He's going to be forced to retreat on the Octane, and NRG survive here as we find ourselves with our final 3 teams remaining.
And like you said, NRG just waiting for that moment, and something like an absolute chaos Horizon Q is what brought that action and that opportunity for NRG as they go flying up to height. They also get all players back up, and they're going to get their heels off now as we take a look at exactly what this building structure looks like.
All right, so we got a few moments of calm, as we can see. Oh, Fury and Rambo still alive. Mooney and Ak on that second level as well. So I believe it's a 2v2v3 with NRG, the team with 3 players alive here.
That's absolutely right. You got My Little Phony there, as you see, one of the teams of 2 just below. And like you said, we will have just a few seconds here where teams can reset just a bit.
One thing that NRG will have to do is drop off of this high ground at some point to make their way towards zone. And they're very, very good at that rotation. The only issue for them, they don't have the Wraith to get that portal down, but they do have a jump pad to work with, and it might be a case of forcing those other teams to move first, and then hitting that jump pad as high up in the air as they can and bobbling down and trying to use that Gibraltar to give them that artificial cover for just a few moments. But big moments here in this game. Whoever makes the smartest decisions will win this one.
Yeah, we're going to see how this plays out right now. They're just going to bide their time. Like you said, My Little Phony there with that bottom level, and looks like they're going to start to poke just a bit, and we'll have to see who makes the first move here on set.
It's going to be the Ring who's making the first move and forcing everyone else to move with them as well. My Little Phony look like they're kind of trapped in a bit of a position at the moment. One player out on that balcony, and I think Mooney might actually be trapped inside of the building. There comes the first jump pad. Sweet has that Kraber, remember, as well, so has the opportunity to hit a shot. Fury will be going down surely here as well, and here comes NRG taking to the heavens, and they have that dome down as well. They have the artificial cover as Rocket hits a nice shot there, the 145 with the Kraber to give them the opening.
Oh my goodness, they completely abandoned their position, and you know that My Little Phony was not ready for that at all. I cannot wait to take a look at that in replay, the way that NRG played that. They get right off of height. Not only do they, like you said, they also get their bubble down right away. And actually, we saw Horizon Q there from My Little Phony as they try to ascend on that height. And instead, NRG wasn't even there anymore. I cannot wait to see that clip from either perspective, because really great play there from NRG. Even though it was a 3v2 in the end, they still played a textbook. They played it very calculated.
Yeah, played that entire game. Calculated, I think, is the perfect word to use. It was all about the IGLing once again from Sweet, that decision making, recognizing which areas of the map were safe, recognizing where the biggest threat was. And then even though one of their players got Krabered inside of that tunnel by when they were holding that high ground, they were the team that ended up moving into that high ground that Sentinels were holding down for so long, finishing off the team that pushed Sentinels when the opening was there. Just perfect timing and execution once again from NRG, which has really become a feature of their play.
Yeah, it really, really has. Man, things got nasty at Lava City North over here as teams were dropping down. We're also hearing from X, the observing team, that at one point, take a look at the shot here, beautiful 319 there, hearing from the observers that there was actually 3 Krabers in play for Sentinels at one point, which is not something you see all the time. But this Vibes push, did it ever open the door for NRG on the rooftop?
I mean, the Vice push did the damage, but you see immediately with that push going down, the NRG took the jump pad themselves, launched themselves up onto the high ground, and this was the final moments here. You see the 2 players being forced out from that low ground to move first. Then you had NRG take to the skies, but it was that initial damage on the player up in the air from the Kraber from one of the NRG players that did the damage that gave them the opening to make that look a lot more comfortable than it could have been. But NRG's decision-making, Andy, just sublime in that game.
It really was. And we also got to talk about, I don't think we've highlighted it enough, just the fact that you do have Sweet on the Octane. And that play is not happening without Sweet on Octane. And of course, keep in mind at the Winter Circuit playoffs that he's running Wraith. And then the fact that he's now switched over to Octane for these games, it has made quite a big difference. And you're not going to see, it's a very different rotation with Wraith out of the caves.
It certainly is. And they did it absolutely brilliantly as well. The wonderful thing about Octane as well with the jump pad is, you have different ways to rotate with the portal. You kind of have an A and B, right? You have an entry point and an exit point, and people can see where you're rotating. They can focus in on those rotations on those portal ends, where with Octane you can change direction mid-air. You can really mix things up, and you can see how difficult it is to deal with a team who is flying through the air, especially when they are the third party and you're already involved in a fight.
And a perfectly timed push. I mean, that observer cam we had was perfect just to show NRG. I mean, their feet hit the roof at the exact same time, and they're able to just come in and absolutely wipe out. And I love the way that they slow played that. They knew that Sentinels mid game had that roof. We talked about maybe NRG was going to do a southern rotation because they had a lot of options. They could have certainly gotten to Lava City other ways, but instead they played confident. They played their game. They knew that they were eventually going to get a rooftop opportunity, and as soon as it presented itself right there, they flew right up.
A great performance then from NRG. I mean, you just look at the names of the winners of our 4 games so far today. You have TSM, CLG, and NRG. I mean, the power in North America at the moment, Andy, is absolutely incredible to watch. It just feels like at any point one of these teams is going to pop off. Anyone can win one of these games, and we've got 2 more today to bring you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like you said during the winter circuit playoffs, the power rankings of NA have shifted so much. This is no longer a 2 or a 3 team region like it was years ago in early Apex Legends. Things have really changed, and that's really showing here with even in the semifinals. I mean, this is like we said, a very stacked lobby. So to see these teams kind of duking it out here early on, we'll have to see which teams are going to come out on top, because there's still an opportunity for some of these big names to not make it through to our finals.
So NRG take home game number 4. We've got 2 more games to bring you, but we're going to go for a quick break first. But when we get back, we'll have those final 2 games and a lot more action coming your way. And welcome back once again, everyone, to the GLL Masters Spring. And Andy, we've had a lot of action today, but we actually made history, I believe, in that last game. A very exciting moment for us.
I think we did. Have you ever seen 3 Kravers in competitive Apex Legends on one team? I don't think. I think that is a first for me.
Yeah, it's a first for me as well. If anyone else in the chat who's watching right now has seen 3 Kravers on one team, please let us know. Put it in the chat. Let us know. Tweet people, and you are lying. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, you got to take a look at Red Sea's screenshot. They were having a full Kraber powwow. We caught 2 of them, and then X on the observing team did catch all 3 as well. But they were having a full-on Kraber powwow in the middle of a competitive Apex match. So that's probably something we're not going to see for a little while. That's what I would have to wager.
Kind of becomes one of those like competitive things, like who's actually going to hit the shot. You know what I mean? Like imagine missing. It's like, all right, you've got 3 Kravers, you drop it. If you miss a shot, like, and then you just get down to 1. That's how I'd work it. Or I just steal them all and not tell my teammates I had them. But let's take a look at the scores then. Let's make sure that we know what's going on after 4 games are done and dusted. And NRG, of course, taking home that last game with the 12 placement points, taking that first place home, as well as 10 kills along the way. Great decision making from them. Sentinels up in 3rd place, a little bit of a resurgence from them in that game number 4. TSM getting into the top 6 as well, even with How as that solo player. But looking across, a big performance coming in from Peanut Butter Sandwiches as well. But again, Space Station Gaming, a little bit of concern for them now, Andy, because we're 4 games in and yet to find any kind of rhythm.
Certainly, there's a bunch of teams that we're going to cover that are outside of the top 10 right now, that are teams that you would expect to be there as we take a look at the overall. And man, look at TSM, still 56 over CLG's 46. That lead extends, and NRG creeping up there with that win, and now in 3rd place with 44, so biting at the heels. But one thing we should start talking about, Mark, is that 10th place, because keep in mind we're in a semifinal here, so the top 10 from each lobby will advance to the final. And we're going to keep an eye on, because look at that, between 12th all the way to 8th, you've only got a 4-point difference. Even all the way to 7th, you've only got a 5-point difference. So this is dangerous territory for Sentinels, Cruelty, PB Sandwiches. They got to be careful in these last 2 games.
I mean, you look at 10th to 20th. I mean, it might seem like, it's a long way away as far as standings are concerned, but points-wise, that's 1 game. That really is 1 game. We've watched multiple teams put up 20-point games. So for anyone who's still in this lobby, and remember, we have a long way to go. We only have 2 games left today, but we have 6 games coming tomorrow to decide that top 10. And of course, there is another semi-final going on as well. And looking across here, Complexity in 2nd place. Dudes Night Out looking strong in 1st though, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very strong. 58 points from them. They're going to be very happy with that. Also a team that you saw at the ALGS Winter Circuit playoffs. Team Liquid's made their way up. Keep in mind, last time we looked at the leaderboard, both Liquid and Season, which we got to talk about, Liquid has made their way back up to 5th, but Season from 20th to 8th, have they ever bounced back? And that's what you expect to see with the talent that's on that roster.
100%. Solar Fide, a little bit of a slow start for them, but as we know, Solar Fide are one of the most consistent teams in North America overall. The Controller Boys really know how to get it done. Multiple championship wins for them, and had a great start to the Winter Circuit playoffs as well. Unfortunately, just kind of fell away a little bit at the end, but one of the strongest teams for sure, and it would be complete and utter surprise to not see them make it through to the finals. But ahead of this game, I mean, NRG have always been in that conversation. CLG, TSM, all having phenomenal performances now. And I talk about it a lot, but the consistency of these teams at the top level of North American Apex right now, it's a great illustration of it, because every single time we seem to jump on board with one of these teams, they're just making the right decisions at the right moments.
Yeah, absolutely. It really seems like you said, it comes down to big decisions that are the difference makers for these teams. And we've seen that time and time again, and better shot calling over time. You're just continuing to see it from more and more top teams. I think a lot of that, plus addition to like the legend variety, have been a lot of big contributing factors to why we're seeing things so tight in North America now, especially how compared to how it was at the beginning of Apex and NA.
Well, we're jumping into the game. I'm going to start off with the winners of our last game, of course. NRG, our playoff champions from the winter circuit as well, who I was talking about how they're going from strength to strength, where they're once again illustrating that point with the win in that game and moving into, well, top 5 teams as well as far as overall standings are concerned. And hey, I tell you what, I'll get my tin hat at this point, Andy.
At this point,
you cannot tell me there is not a conspiracy going on.
I gotta say, 7 games in a row to the west at the winter circuit playoffs. Now 5 games in a row to the east. Our observer team thought about saying in game chat. they thought better to make sure that they maintain their jobs. But we have another Eastern pull here, and it's pretty darn similar. We're talking about Refinery South, Overlook West, a little bit of Frag East, and of course Epicenter, all still included in that beacon, but we are headed to the east again. So at the beginning of the show onset, we jokingly said we'd love to see some of the eastern side of World's Edge in this tournament today, and we have gotten all of that and more.
Yeah, we really have. I mean, it's lucky we've got 12 games. I mean, after 12 games are done, I think we get a sample size, right? That's a comparable sample size. We'll let it rest for now. We'll let it rest for now.
Yeah, we'll see what tomorrow holds. But so far, we are 5 for 5. Let's take a look. Any interesting drops here? Observers are pointing out, of course, a little bit of potential battles here in Geyser.
Yeah, Geyser fight already going down, and once again, it's where we had a fight last time, and it seems like every single time we jump on board and we jump into the map, one team is not comfortable, and this time it's Smooth Bananas who are not having a comfortable drop here, as Marty is trying to line up some shots here with the charge rifle. Has 3 times to work with as well, so we'll be able to do some damage. It looks like they're looking to get aggressive as well, immediately bubbling across the opening that is presented to them, but looks like they can't find the players inside, so it looks like they might be backing up. They might be trying to just pick up a few armors, but whatever it is, use that bubble. And now they're just going to slow things down a little bit. But when you contest it on drop, it's so frustrating, right? Because it slows down your rotation so much, as we see the team now trying to make their move in, and it really can scupper your entire game, not just the early moments.
Yeah, it is buff Pathfinder. Once again, we talked about it, the team with no home who is dropping and contesting here. And in terms of armor, they're looking much stronger, and they're going to continue to poke this advantage, especially when they start to see white armors and the damage.
Yeah, they're trying to burst in now, and you can see bubble fighting going down. It looks like they're having the things start to go their way a little bit. Unfortunately for Smooth Bananas, they will be on the receiving end of the team wipe. But speaking of wipes, I've just seen in the kill feed as well, the Imperial How has been eliminated by defeated. So it looks like TSM are in a little bit of trouble early on here. Snipe down and Reps having to desperately try and get away here.
Wow, that is going to be Outcast Gaming actually getting that first full knock there on Hal. Will take him all the way down. And like you said, it's a very precarious opening for TSM. Not what you expect to see. They're going to get ahead and grab that and look to get the respawn beacon going. But yeah, pretty interesting start for TSM.
Yeah, Snipedown's done a good job there in getting that banner back and managing to get out without getting scanned as well. So they're going to be escaping now, maybe looking to move down towards Epicenter for towards a refinery for a respawn opportunity away from where all these teams will be rotating into. So a little bit of a shaky start for TSM. However, they will be able to recover.
Absolutely. Now, as we take a look at teams that are already here on height around Overlook and now back into Geyser area, it's going to be HRN, who is the last team in there, trying to make sure that the area is completely cleared out, and actually going to find a team right at the edge there on the side of that vault exit.
Yeah, he'll just ADS in here with the alternator, seeing if he can get an angle and get a little bit of damage down. He will get a fair amount of damage down, around 50 onto multiple players, as the Arc Star will go in as well, which is going to give them the opening and the space that they need to move up now onto this team. And now you're going to see the caustic traps going down, making sure that there's going to be the opportunity for them to back up if they do take that damage and get those heals off. But it looks like they're going to try and get aggressive here. And I love this from Arcane and Euris and Hill, just really trying to put the pain onto this team and saying that, hey, We're not scared of you. We're coming for you.
Absolutely. They're going to fly through. They're actually going to find a team in here at first, actually, I believe, that's all the way in the back of the tunnel. And we'll have to see how this plays out as they're going to have to fly across. You could tell based on the distance markers that you already have a team that's already kind of pushed all the way out of that vault tunnel. So they're going to keep flying through, and we'll have to see if they meet each other in no name.
The Sentinels have managed to rotate into a great position once again. Look, inside of Overlook, just surveying the area. I do believe that this is going to pull down to that train cart, though, just to the east of Epicenter on those tracks where it is usually where we see a finish in the area. So ideally you want to try and hold down that height around Epicenter instead of actually the Overlook side of the map, or if you are Overlook side of the map, you need to take the height and not actually be inside of Overlook. It's an interesting circle to try and play, especially towards those latter moments, as it's such a change in elevation for teams to try and work with.
It certainly is, and there will be a lot of cozy spots early on, and things will shift very quickly as certain parts of real estate, especially around Epicenter as well as No Name, as those get excluded, you're going to see a lot of teams drop very quickly as we take a look at Peanut Butter Sandwiches. They're going to go ahead and make their way north all the way up to Frag East through that lava choke. But we also saw a few teams that were trying to make their way still from pretty far out, so we'll keep an eye on them as well as we take a look at CLG.
Yeah, CLG doing a great job, not only to win this fight, as you've seen Lou managed to get the finish onto G7 Dank, but look where they are. Hey, right inside of the train cart, right inside of where they believe that this circle could be ending. So CLG, once again, their knowledge of zones and rotational ability is absolutely superb. They did land, you know, on the northern side of the map here, and it was on the eastern side of Skyhook, but that balloon gives them such great rotational advantage, I feel, a lot of the time, to get across the map a lot quicker than a lot of other teams can.
Absolutely. They got here quick, like you said. I mean, you even had a bunch of other teams that were also on the double. Sentinels, for example, with that sorting drop, they got all the way over to that corner of Overlook very fast as well, but they have gotten Hal back in with TSM, so now they're a squad of 3, but Hal on white, so they're going to be a little bit more cautious than normal. Hal will not be able to play as aggressive as he would like to, of course, as he normally will. He'll still, of course, be able to scout a bit, but not be able to break. But look at that damage coming in. Great work here from the TSM squad.
Yeah, I was about to say, you maybe think he won't play aggressive, and then he pokes out and absolutely beams 2 players, and then Snipedown comes in to clean them up. I mean, great bait and switch in there. Hal showing that even with a white armor, you can be aggressive, and there's an absolute laser beam coming out of the 301 of Snipedown. That's what he does best. Absolutely beaming people all over World's Edge, and now you can actually see CLG maybe recognizing that TSM were in that fight again and trying to be the third party and take advantage of it.
And take a look at this third cam. Look at the breaks coming in as well. Players are pushing back up. Great timing there from our ops team to see exactly what TSM is up to in that corner, as CLG is going to continue this push.
CLG trying to move in now. Lou, you can see taking quite a lot of damage, going to be forced to back up here and forced to pop a battery, and now you're going to see CLG trying to get aggressive. The shot going to be missed with the Mastiff, only 11 with a second as well, and all of a sudden Snipedown makes him pay. Snipedown will be taken down, and now I believe this might be a 1v1 situation. Imperial Hal on the Octane trying to pop some heals and make this a fair fight, but he's getting beamed out of the sky at the moment. Only 30 going to land with the 301, and that will be the end here for TSM.
Oh man, and what a horrible scenario there for both the CLG side and TSM, and CLG thought maybe they could make something happen, unaware of how much action was about to follow there with the third-party opportunities in Space Station Gaming. One of the teams that's pushing in, they're actually pushing in from the north to make quick work of that battle in such an open space. It's such a dangerous place. Let's take a look now. Madness just trying to stay alive with 10 HP. He will go down. Space Station is the third party in that. CLG and TSM both knock each other out, with Space Station cleaning up the pickings.
So Space Station have got a tough rotation in here. They've just managed to eliminate Hal from TSM to get that finish. They've taken down Madness as well to get the finish onto CLG. And now they've got NRG in front of them. So about a toughest run. That is the gauntlet, if ever I've seen it, as far as rotation is concerned for SM. Just little moments like that really can pick up a game for you. We talked about how they haven't had the biggest performance yet. They haven't got the points on the board they would want, but eliminating 2 powerhouse teams like that who have stolen a lot of points, away from the lobby, is going to give them that opportunity to catch up now.
Looks like West Side is actually going to take a more epicenter route, but you have to think that these are going to engage. Space Station is still in a little bit of open territory, but they're a little bit closer to Refinery now, so they've got a tiny bit more cover. But that's going to be an interesting battle to keep an eye on in the north. And like you said, NRG is going to have third-party opportunities over that if they want. But also just take a look at Saucer and crew that are so close and now engaging with Space Station as well.
Yeah, they got to be careful. That was the position that CLG were holding down a minute ago, but you can actually see that shift from the ring. I was incorrect in my call of where it would be going, and it's actually moved towards Overlook. So it's looking like yet another Overlook finish here in our game number 5 of the day. And NRG just playing that edge. You can see Sweet and Rocker just being the scouts outside of zone. Nathan just holding down their spot inside, just trying to scout and see how many teams are around and if they can get any shots down onto anyone. SSG now making their move as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it's going to be Saucer that's going to be holding down those train cards. Like you said, we did see CLG holding, but SSG has a good bit of height and no one to their back now. So they're going to have some decent angles over that team.
The only issue is they've got that ring closing behind them, and it's starting to close right now. Mr. Hakulo has to back up and just about manages to get out of dodge here. 1 HP and a dream. The battery should be able to be popped though, as the Gibby bubble will go down to give him a little bit of protection. But West side in a little bit of a sticky situation. They're almost losing their Wraith player. Zeratricky having to do what he can to hold off this push. Defensive bombardment will come down, and that will create the space they're looking for.
Yeah, very, very dangerous. They're perfect timing, just right on the cue to be able to get away from that there, but they're certainly not out of trouble just yet, as that bombardment's going to come down.
Yeah, the bombardment's being exchanged between both teams. To be honest with you, Westside looked like they got the worst side of it, and now they're going to have to rotate away using that portal. So Westside showing great survivability here in a pretty awkward situation, being forced down into the bottom of Epicenter. But in those situations where one of your players takes damage in a straight 3v3 fight, if you get out and you manage to reset, then you've done well in that situation.
Absolutely. Zeratricky taking more damage than he wanted to right after the heal. And as we saw, they're pushing down those angles. And Space Station Gaming still on the hunt there. Wing shots from Zenile trying to connect. Nothing going to connect just yet, but that's not going to stop their push, as Clarify is there as well. Thermals are going to go down, and they're ready to go for more kills here. They smell blood.
Yeah, real opportunity there for Space Station Gaming to third party that fight. Didn't really get the shots landing that they would have wanted to, and now they're going to have to rethink their next position on the map where they want to move to. As you can see, the zone is actually going to be closing, and they are going to be well within it. So Mr. Hakulo once again having to jump into the void. As you can see, Westside now making their rotation through the zone as well, and 3 teams at the moment just kind of hovering in and around the zone and in a little bit of a precarious position, trying to push their way up to the height here of Epicenter. But when you're pushing from low to high, especially with, I believe there's a team on the top of the Epicenter structure, excuse me, no, they're working their way through zone, it makes it even more difficult. That Gibby bubble going to be vital.
Absolutely. Not only do you have RCO here, but you have another team as well, just like you said. So this is getting really messy really quick here at Epicenter.
Westside trying to do what they can, but they look like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place at the moment. The knockdown shield is going to do enough just to block those initial grenades coming in, but unfortunately for Muffins, that will be the end. Mr. Hakulo, again, somehow, he should be Mr. Magician at this point, and with the amount of times that he's managed to get away from situations that he should have maybe fallen from. As Buff Pathfinder now come in, they finally won their first fight on drop, Andy, and all of a sudden, they're looking confident in their 3v3s.
Yeah, Mr. Hakulo will finally die to the ring, as you see there, but like you said, they're actually getting some nice picks here on the Space Station squad.
Yeah, Raze does unfortunately go down though, so even though they were looking good and they were looking to sweep in and pick up some kill points, it looks like things have turned around for them. Space Station Gaming trying to finish off a knock as well. As you can see, 1 player alive there from RCO, and it looks like the 2 players above are more than aware of that as well, as Frex will be credited with that finish. MST now in a fight as well, and all these fights going down around Epicenter, just trying to find a little way in, and it just seems like there's a lot of teams playing edge at the moment who aren't too confident maybe with their rotational skills to get inside of that zone early, so just trying to pick fights on edge. But with everyone doing that, all of a sudden it becomes a little bit of a mess.
It really has, and Epicenter has become the epicenter of the mess, as it's been very difficult here. We still have another Wraith still trying to scurry away, and it's going to be MST that wants to push that. They don't want to give that one away. It's going to be finally Nando is going to be taken down of the RCO squad, so they'll loot up quick and make sure to get back outside the ring. Here we go, back over to Sweet, and onset, you asked for it.
Don't let me down, Sweet. Don't let me down.
With a Kraber in hand.
This is what I wanted to see. Sweet, in my opinion, has the best Kraber in the game. I was about to back down then. I was about to say one of the best. I'm standing by my earlier comments. I think he's got the best Kraber in the game, and if he hits some shots here, then I'm right. And if he doesn't, then he's trolling because he heard what I said. It's as simple as that, really.
It really is. I wouldn't debate it as well, as we take once again a look at Bowser and team to see what they might be up to. Saucer and Pow Pow, of course. PB Sandwich is a team that we're expecting to see even more from throughout this tournament, so we'll see how many points they can put on the board, but they're slowly making their way up. Right now, they're okay with this height because they've got decent angles where they can angle themselves away from that zip cross that you see them actually engaging with the likes of Buff Pathfinder with from there. Need to be careful about what the overlook angles they expose themselves to, and also just in case they get flanked here, but once again, back on board with NRG.
Sweet's got the Kraber in hand as well. Oh, he hits a 145 under pressure. That's why he's so good. That's why I love watching his point of view. whenever he has that weapon in hand, he just has the ability to land body shots, to rip faces when he needs to as well. Nathan there to back him up as well with the scout. He's going to push that team back who are below them. But look at the rotation now that NRG have to make. Only 12 squads remaining, so 8 teams have been eliminated. But they're going to have to get their skates on soon. Even though they're looking for KP on edge of zone here, you can see those teams who are inside of the zone at the moment, put them under a tremendous amount of pressure.
Absolutely. Energy was about to make that push, but a little bit of damage came from the overlook side. So instead, they're going to fast rotate. They're not going to stick around for that battle, and wisely so. Look at them. They're able to actually get that cart and just slow things down just a bit. Could have been a pretty messy situation, but instead they selectively angle themselves away.
And SSG, you can see Zanile, I believe, is the only player alive here for SSG. So, again, not looking good for them. If they can squeak into the top 10, they do have a few KP, I believe, that they've managed to accrue. But, again, something we should highlight, SSG really not had the RNG as far as the rings are concerned. Had to make their way right over from the west side of the map to the east every single time so far, as Cool Cats are now inside of Overlook, but unfortunately for them, not inside of where that ring's going to be closing.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to need to get ready for another move as well. For right now, they're going to be okay, but that will soon change. And like we said, NRG happy to avoid that skirmish that could have developed. Instead, they're going to just move a little bit further east, stay on that northern side, and get ready for this next battle. As here we are, our top 10 squads in game number 5.
You can see the teams that have been eliminated on the team tracker as well. Peanut Butter Sandwich is out, Counter Logic Gaming, TSM out, and that opens up the lobby for all of the teams you see involved still. The likes of Sentinel, Space Station Gaming, who are still alive, but down to just that one player. So we could see some big shifts in the leaderboard here as we, of course, have a little bit of rat cam to bring you. Solo race.
Would not be a GLL Masters without a little bit of rat cam. But here now, NRG actually, as you'd expect from them, able to get a little bit of height. Look at this Sweet just flying right up, gets a lay of the land. He's actually going to only take pretty limited damage there, only have to pop a battery, and able to go right back into the action. So they fly in right away, and now Sentinels is also going to see the likes of Lonely Fans popping into the back of Overlook as well.
Yeah, that was a great rotation from them as well. And Sentinels, I believe, have lost a player too. You can see Senox and Retzi, last two alive, as MST now try and move in as well. 22 after the 211s, and a break of the shields is going to allow 6 to move in. And I believe this might be the last player alive on Space Station. It's actually not. It's going to be Mooney who's taken down. So now down to our last 10 squads, and they're going to be forced up this tunnel. It's a difficult rotation for them to make. Metro going to be coming under all sorts of fire. He's got the ringer that he's back as well, as we jump up with Cool Cats as well, who are trying to fight their way into zone.
Yeah, Cool Cats have been holding on pretty well here, but now as you take a look at exactly where they are in terms of armor, this is a very tough spot. Is going to just try to hang on as long as they can.
And Rocker taken down from NRG. That isn't all of NRG eliminated. You can see Sweet in the feed as well. Takes down Zanile, so that gives them the extra placement point as well, as one rat takes out another. But bottom 20 now, overlooking all of the carnage that's going in with this late rotation from the western side of World's Edge. Now they've got a team below them as well. That's just a duo, so this might be free KP. You can see Scurry is getting straight in there, and all of a sudden, the sun shines bright in the eyes, and bottom 20 just about managed to win that fight.
Oh boy, yeah, maybe a little bit too close for comfort there. Onmu's going to be very happy to get everyone back up and back in the action there. But they drop on that 3v2, and they play the numbers game, just like you said, Onset. Bottom 20, a team, keep in mind, this team was in second place after 2 games, still a force. A team that we're expecting to see get into the finals pretty comfortably. But with CLG and TSM out of this game, you got to think, Onset, for the likes of Sentinels and NRG, this game kind of provided a really big opportunity in match number 5.
100%. They got a real buffer as far as points is concerned, with some of them not being taken away from the lobby. But we're going to see a little bit of quiet now, as I'm pretty sure that Sweet did get eliminated. I'll have to double check that one when we get the opportunity to do so. As we see a rotation coming into the side of the building that is being held down by My Little Pony at the moment. And they're going to be right in the line of sight of that team that is moving in just to the right, that you can see here. Onmu and Scurry making their way in. And it is confirmed. Yes, NRG have been eliminated. So Sweet, who was playing as that solo player, now out of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was bottom 20 right there that was making their move. Now they've made their move to bottom silos here at Overlook, and they've done it quickly. Keep in mind, Yuri still with that height and angle, holding that down for HRM. But bottom 20 still making a move. Like you said, playing edge, and they're on, right now, they're on double red and gold. So they're going to be able to move in pretty soon here.
Yeah, big shots coming in from Rambo here with the Havoc as well. Not a weapon that you see too much as far as players choosing it as their weapon of choice, so to speak. But Phonyhead now trying to pop a syringe to stay alive for as long as he can. Fury is alive as well. The question is, can they get Rambo back up, or will Retzi and Senox try and finish off these 2 kills? They will manage to do so. So Sentinel's picking up some KP, even though it's not at the hands of Retzi. It's going to be Senox who gets the finish, and Sentinel's done a great job as a duo here to stay alive for this long and get into the top 4.
They really have, and keep in mind they're right around the top 5 right now overall, so they have climbed their way back. They had a slower start that we talked about, but now looking even stronger and doing whatever they can to put as many points as they can on the board here in match number 5.
So they're calm. All things start to kick off once again. HRN, excuse me, up on that high ground on top of the silos. Great position to be in. And that beam is going to be coming in from the Spitfire. That's 130 plus coming in from Senox, forcing that player to retreat. We'll pop a cell as well, just to make sure that he's got that full red armor to work with, and he's going to be able to just sneak out and loot as well. And that's the beauty of not too many teams being alive in this situation, Andy. You can make those little trips towards those death boxes and pick up a little bit of extra loot.
Yeah, and there's the port there from bottom 20 that you saw Vayne just set, and actually they're going to take it. Vayne calls a safe portal, so they're going to fly right through and could find themselves in a battle with Lonely Fans eventually. Lonely Fans playing that low ground, as you see, so they're going to be a bit isolated right now, and it's actually going to be Blight there getting into a bit of a battle as well on your screen. So HRN still holding height, and Sentinel still holding this outside building.
This could be a very similar finish to what we saw CLG win around those pipes, those boxes. Essentially where that care package has fallen in the middle of all this carnage. We'll have to see how these players play this one. They're just waiting now for that ring to start slowly creeping its way in, which it's doing now, and force those players to engage with each other.
Absolutely. It's a very difficult move here for Lonely Fans. That's the lowest team. They need to make sure that they time their push. We've seen many teams and how difficult it is to make that move up. It really is going to come down to timing as well. They're hearing a little bit, so Blight's going to do a little bit of scouting and poking to see if it's the time. Take a look at his POV. If he gets the right damage or sees the right damage, he will make the call for them to jump up. For right now, they're going to stay low, though.
Yeah, stay low and wait for that ring to try and force this team in. Maybe have an opportunity to do some damage. Unfortunately, there was an opportunity, but Blight just not hitting the shots he would have wanted to in that situation. Only managing to do 12 damage with the Vault, trying to pop those caustic barrels as well, just to make their potential rotation into the ring a little bit more comfortable, but it's looking very uncomfortable at the moment for them.
Yep, Burns coming in there. It looks like could have been from HRN side, could have been from the Sentinel side here, so they're going to have to be careful as things are going to start closing in. They're going to have to make their way up the stairs.
HRN dropping in now, bubbles down. All the Gibraltar's doing what they can do. 3 squads now remaining. As you can see, the Sentinels have been taken out by HRN. So Hill has been taken down, and you can see Urice now. A little bit of old school zipline juggling coming in from the Pathfinder. We haven't seen it for a while. The question is it going to be as effective as it used to? Urice now in a 1v1 fight. The last player comes in, and it's bottom 20 with a fantastic late play, who managed to get the job done. They're continuing their impressive form, but boy, did that feel good. Just to see a little bit of old school Pathfinder zip juggling. Wonderful stuff coming in from Urice.
I was going to say, when's the last time we saw proper end circle Pathfinder zip juggling? It's been quite some time, especially not just because we've seen less paths, but also, of course, just with the way that the actual mechanic was buffed. But it was good to see. I totally agree. And in the end, it's bottom 20, and they're doing exactly what they say. They're bottom feeding from the low ground, and they let all of that play out on set that whole time, and they just waited on those stairs. And you could actually say in that scenario that low ground with that tucked cover actually gave them the most advantage in that situation. As we take a look at some of the highlights from game number 5.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. The low ground, which might seem like a disadvantageous position sometimes to people who are playing, when you're in those situations, you have multiple teams stacked up on each other. When you've got the defensive bombardments going down from the Gibraltars and all this damage being done, you've just kind of you wait your turn, because those teams will be taking damage, will be forced to fight. And if you make that push at the right time and you manage to time it exactly like they do, you can actually find that being on the low ground is the favorable position. So a great job from them to execute in those last moments. A lot of fun from Urice towards the end. Almost managed to clutch up in those moments. But this is where things really started to open up for bottom 20 there. You see they had a free rotation in, managed to pick up some KP along the way. But from here, it still wasn't easy for them.
No, not at all. They had to take a pretty long road as they're able to get all the way in there. And like you said, we didn't see it happen off screen, but HRM was able to make very quick work of Sentinels. It looks like they had just a little bit too far to get into from that building. And in the end, you're going to see Eureka finally drop down, but it's actually going to be Vayne and bottom 20, Skuri and Onmu, that go ahead and take that one. And I got to say, bottom 20, we've been impressed with them. Like we said, these are not surprise names. These are not names that we don't expect to pop off, but it's good to see them performing the way they have. And I think that the table is going to get pretty interesting with how many points they get from that game.
I think it's going to be interesting, not only for where they end up and how they kind of impact that top 5, but also for those teams that are around the top 10. Remember, semifinals, right? We keep repeating it because it's true. And top 10 teams will go through to the finals with the opportunity to fight it out for that prize money. And I think teams like Space Station Gaming, they've got to step up. And maybe they can do that after this quick break, because we've only got one more game to come today. We'll be bringing it straight to your eyes when we have the opportunity in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody, to the GLL Masters Spring. We've had a lot of fun so far today, and we've got one more game to bring you before we wrap up the show. We've got 12 games to get through over the next 2 days, but we've already managed to do 5. And I mean, one team that's really impressed me was, of course, the winners of our last game, bottom 20, Andy, really putting in a strong performance so far today.
Yeah, they really are. I think it's like we talked about before the break. I think it's a team that we all expected to perform, but I don't know if everyone was ready for them to perform as well as they have. And they've really showed up today. It's been awesome. That's a 10-kill win to get them 22 points here, and really making a statement that they are not, just a bunch of talented Apex players, but rather a roster to be feared in the GLL Masters Spring.
Yeah, one thing that jumps out to me is the importance of that 6th place coming in for Space Station Gaming. They've struggled a little bit today, but finally managed to get something together here. 5 kills to go alongside it as well. So 7 points on the board, although it might not seem like a huge amount as far as the teams that are at the very top of the leaderboard. That will ping them up the leaderboards very, very quickly, as I'm sure we'll see right now when we see the overall standings.
Yeah, absolutely. As we take a look at these, and TSM still out in front, though their lead has certainly been narrowed. They're now up 59 to bottom 20s 54, and like we said, bottom 20 showing up in a big way. This is a stacked lobby, and right now they are topping CLG, NRG, Sentinels. Honestly, there's too much talent to list in this entire lobby. It feels like you could go down that entire left column and many of the right teams in terms of very, very well-known Apex players. So bottom 20 showing up in a big way. But the thing we're going to start looking at on set now that we're about to head into our final match of the day is what that top 10 bubble looks like.
Oh, 100%. And you can see it is extremely close at the moment. That 7 points really has given Space Station Gaming a little bit of a shot of catapulting themselves up the table, although it might not seem like a huge amount. You look at that 10th place and where they are in comparison, and now, not too far away as far as points is concerned. So little things like that really can turn around a tournament and a semi-final for a team like Space Station. But I mean, looking at the teams that are kind of holding on at the moment, you got Peanut Butter Sandwiches, which are holding on to that 10th place spot, which is not where they will want to be. Obviously, they'd love to be a little bit higher and feeling a little bit more comfortable. But the likes of Vibe, there's 2 rank 1 pub, Cool Cats, a great opportunity for them to find themselves into a final.
It really is, and this is a big opportunity for them to step up. Like you said, Lonely Fans and a few other teams here on this right side. Definitely a chance for them to get into a final and prove that they have what it takes to fight against North America's best in those finals later this month. But the gap has really widened. If you take a look at 8th to 13th now, that's a 14-point difference. If I recall, going into game 5, it was much, much closer. We were talking about something like a 5-point difference. So that game really saw the points spread out quite a bit more. And now the bubble is a little bit tougher. And you can bet coming out of 6 games, it's probably going to be the case as well. So it's important to get the points here, not only to get the points at the end of the day, but you really want to feel good going into day number 2, where it's all going to be on the line.
Yeah, I think that's a great point you make there. Just at the end there is, you want to finish today inside of that top 10. You don't want to be looking, looking up. You don't want to be looking over your shoulder. You don't want to be in that position where you're thinking, we have to do something different tomorrow. We have to make up this points disparity between those teams that are inside the top 10. It certainly is a big thing, especially when you get that break. I think it's a very interesting dynamic. You get to go away, you get to think about things, what went wrong, what went right. And if you're going away with a negative attitude, all of a sudden you come into tomorrow and you have to, it's almost an extra thing. You have to get out yourself and your teammates. You have to go, okay, we need to rally ourselves. We need to bring ourselves together instead of, hey, we're in the top 10. Let's just keep that kind of performance going. We'll be okay. We'll be in the finals.
You bring up a great point. In terms of team comms coming out today, you want today to be like, hey, let's keep playing our game. You don't want to have the conversation of what do we need to change? Do we even need to consider changing things like drops or comps? You don't want to have those discussions. You'd much rather say today went okay, today went well, and we just need to play our game even more consistently. That's what these teams want to do. And to be able to do that at the end here in game number 6 would definitely be a statement as we start things off with bottom 20. They were your game 5 winners, and right now they're in second place, upsetting quite a bit of the lobby.
certainly in need of a rebrand as well, to be honest with you, as far as team name is concerned. Nothing like a bottom 20 team at the moment, certainly, unless that's unless you count the bottom 20 as teams that are qualified into the final. Maybe they might have a conversation to be had about that, but you can see them dropping in right now, getting into the game almost immediately here. The final game of today's action. I tell you what, it has flown by today. It does not feel like 6 games. It feels like 2, 3. That's why I messed up earlier.
It has absolutely gone so fast that we were kind of commenting with all the production and observing here as well as we take a look now, and we're getting it. I'm not gonna lie, on set, we got to talk about it.
It's East.
That's an East pull. That is an East pull. It's not Central. It is Eastern, and we are now 6 for 6, ladies and gentlemen. Eastern pulls, though it's a bit, it's a bit more central. After 7 straight Western pulls, or mostly Western pulls, I'm not going to count that survey one as an Eastern. Game number 7 in the LGS Winter Playoffs, but here we go. We're going East Central, but this is a pretty gnarly final zone just because of how this is going to pull. Take a look at the percentage of cliffside and unplayable area you have in this zone.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point you make. There's those 3, 4 buildings essentially that people are going to be desperate to try and get hold of. You can see the likes of Sentinels already, trying to loot desperately, trying to make their rotation. TSM already on the move to try and get hold of one of those buildings. And I think that shows how vital it is to get hold of at least one of those pieces of real estate early on if you want to have a successful game here. So TSM going to try and maybe get hold of that cafe area, maybe get hold of one of those double leveled buildings just so they can hold that down and kind of work from there. But I think that immediate rotation for TSM just is a great indication of how important that is.
Yeah, TSM's getting right out, and they do not want to have to fight in places like the Ridge, in places like Underpass, or have difficult routes. Instead, guess what? They're already at the Ridge, and they're already going to play from across. They're probably going to loot through here and then take a look at if they can get into that sorting circular building and make their way in. Curious how Sentinels plays this, because they can gatekeep a few different sides. You have to anticipate they're going to play, just top one of either the northern side or the southern side of that station. But here you go. Look at that right away. Somehow Crust gets caught out. Crust already scouting and looting here in this circular building, and certainly not expecting a TSM rotation from that far out.
Yeah, I mean, Crust just got caught off guard. I don't think he was expecting anyone to rotate that quickly, let alone TSM getting from Frag East to sorting as quickly as they have. So the worst possible start here for Sentinels, and unfortunately for TSM, it wasn't actually them who got the kill in the end. It was a long-range shot coming in from a triple take that just managed to finish off Crust here. But look at TSM, the aggression that's coming in from them. They know the Sentinels are down to only 2 players, and they want those KP on the board.
They absolutely do. A little bit of bait and switch here. Hal's going to go back and pop those cells, and now going to pop up. Take a look at that kill feed. Yes, indeed, Senox and Retzi do fall as well. That's Sentinels who drop sorting, eliminated right away from TSM, flying right in. Hal wasted no time. They got on that zip from this sorting circular building. Not this building, but the building that looks just like it here over at sorting. They flew right in right away from the Ridge. They didn't loot the Ridge for a second, and they get right in and they catch Crust off. You have to wonder if they had comms on the fact that one of the Sentinels players had left the train station and gotten into that building, because they flew right in as a unit and they pick up that kill. They're going to have sorting to themselves for the time being, and they are the kings of the castle. It's a huge open from TSM. Onset, you said it. They're playing maybe the most confident we've seen in a very long time.
I swear it's just a game 1 performance. It's crazy to say it, but TSM, when they play their best, they start hot. And if they have a good game 1, it's very, very difficult to stop that momentum. They're a momentum-based team. We know that they're an emotional team sometimes, right? And when things go their way, all of a sudden, it just feels like they're a different animal. They are a scary, scary TSM. And it works the other way. Sometimes when those first couple of games don't go their way, it takes a little bit of time for them to regain that composure, to find that kind of balance that they need to their game. But one thing I am absolutely loving is the choice of Octane for Hal gives him the opportunity to be so aggressive, to push onto any advantage that they find. And speaking of which, he's doing it again. Hal moving in, absolutely beams 1, beams 2, and there's his teammate. That is the cleanest wipe from TSM. They are dominating this lobby right now.
I mean, they made it look like a pub push. That was an absurd play. Those are the plays that you expect Hal and team to make. Just perfect damage there. Blow off the doors, arcs go in, fly right in, don't even drop a player, barely even have to heal up after that. They're just going to loot up. RCO has a vantage point on that, but they're going to need to be careful, because TSM is not afraid of anything at the moment. Like you said, Hal playing even more confident than we've seen.
Yeah, he really is just it just seems like a different animal. Maybe it's because Snipedown brought him a gift back from Hawaii. You never know. Maybe that made how happy. Maybe that just annoyed him. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those interesting things.
Could have been some of those nice Hawaiian chocolates, you know, that everyone expects when you get back. Yeah, so those are nice.
Exactly. Hey, that's what I'd enjoy, that kind of thing. You off to Hawaii soon? You gonna bring me something back? No. All right.
I'll bring you something back.
Thank you, man. Well, let's take a look at that circle again and see where the teams are. NRG made a good rotation in here. You can see they're just playing on the ramp underneath, or leading up to Sorting Factory, I should say. Whereas Peanut Butter Sandwiches, who do need a solid performance here, they're taking that dome building that we saw Crushed fall to early from that push from TSM. So a lot of teams making a quicker rotation here in this game number 6 than we've seen previously.
Take a look at where you could just make out the name. Take a look at where Cruelty and CLG are. Look at the Rage. Look at the choke there. Look at the lava choke. This is the reason that TSM flew through. They wanted to skip all of this. They wanted no part of that 4-team party at the Ridge. 5 teams now, if you count that North sorting building. And this is why they got through so fast. And in doing so, they timed it perfectly on that Sentinels push as well. They avoided all of this mid-game stuff, and they played faster than really any other team in the lobby.
It's going to be interesting to see how they play the rest of this game as well. If it does pull back that way, then they will have the ability to use the low ground and the cover that the cliff face does offer them. But Space Station Gaming now making their way through Harvester, and you can see they might actually be involved in a little bit of the scuffle that could go down, not only in this choke and this passageway towards Sorting Factory, but that team that is approaching from the north side of World's Edge as well, trying to push their way through Harvester as well.
Certainly Space Station is going to want to avoid anything like that at Harvester at this stage. They've got enough to worry about in terms of getting into more center zone, and do not want to have to waste their time with these battles. We'll see exactly how they play this one out. Would not be surprised to see them try to just move and take a safer route.
Yep, they're out of there as quickly as possible. You called it perfectly. Space Station Gaming deciding that they wanted to move. But unfortunately for them, I'm not sure if they're aware that there is actually a team inside of the Snake building here. I don't know if that team is kind of a little bit AFK, just trying to bait a team in to walk through one of those doors. But it seems like SSG at least maybe recognize the situation here and deciding not to push onto it. And that is it's very, very important for them to get that information.
Yeah, it's cool cats down there trying to be real cool and still and not moving inside of this building, just trying to maybe gatekeep that choke up into sorting. We saw in the earlier matches how difficult that can be when you have to take the uphill route up into sorting, especially if someone's gatekeeping that. So they're just hoping that they might be able to, especially with their armor situation, just gatekeep here just a bit and catch a team off guard.
You see a couple of teams rotating through that choke that we saw. CLG, TSM all make their way through, and we're going to see that ring pull. Wow, that's interesting to me. You see the dome building is going to be inside where CLG currently are, but this could be ending either side of the choke at the moment that we see right in the middle of that zone. A very interesting zone, and one that I haven't seen for quite some time.
Yeah, and we talk about the amount of playable space, that there's even less in this next pull in terms of percentage of cliffside versus actual playable area. So this is, like you said, going to continue to be interesting here as we jump on board with MST and the Snake.
MST forcing the bubble and managing to get a few shots down here. You can see Reps is taking out Holiday in the feed as well. So TSM just continuing to slaughter the lobby in this final game of the day. MST not being able to get the damage they would have wanted in this fight to get aggressive and try and push off the back of it, but we'll be able to destroy that Horizon. Oh, and there is an absolute beam coming in from Metro. That's going to force that player back, and all of a sudden those players are cowering in a corner, and it's not going to be too long for them to survive in this game, unfortunately. And that will be them eliminated.
That will be it. That's going to be RCO that goes down also in the feed as we take a look at that, but that's going to be what we just saw, Mayhem from the side of Smooth Bananas going down, but now checking back on board with Space Station.
Yeah, Space Station doing a good job here. Frex is getting the pick onto 6 as well and managing to hold off the push that was going to be coming in from around the Harvester area that they find themselves in right now. The Snake building just outside of it. This is where you're going to see teams, I think, kind of second guessing where that zone is going to be pulling, which means that no one's really confident at the moment about where they want to try and hold down, which is where you're going to see a lot of peeking, a lot of prodding, and teams trying to see where each other are on the map to see who's trying to make decisions, who might have the zone knowledge, and who might have the next beacon as well to know when that zone is going to be pulling. I mean, a beacon hit at this point would be absolutely massive for any team if they could get that next information. But for NRG, they're continuing their merry little way, and it's going to be Reps from TSM who is eliminated, this time at the hands of Nathan.
Yeah, let's go ahead and see what NRG's been up to. We jump on board with them. Like you said, that's an interesting entry into the kill feed, as NRG's going to have a little bit of time just to loot up
and heal. And Reps getting caught out. As you take a look, so far only 4 teams eliminated. Unlucky for Sentinels there off of that break. But now taking a look at the route that NRG has to take along this low ground, it's not an easy route up, and they are just going to jump pad out.
Yeah, and just looking at the team tracker as well, Sentinels down, first eliminated. They were inside the top 10, and they might fall outside of that top 10 if things don't go their way in this game. We talked about how easy an evening and a night's sleep it might be for any of these teams who are outside the top 10. Sentinels might be having some serious discussions tonight about what's going to happen tomorrow, because again, just inconsistent once more today.
Yep, Nathan just exchanging some cover fire there as they will heal up once again, and it's a pretty good real estate here as we talk about their exact positioning in terms of being at southern sorting, and we'll have to be ready for teams to generally pop up. But right now it looks like they are completely safe to the back, so they can keep all eyes ahead on sorting. And Hal, take a look at him solo right now back in Harvester.
And the lost Reps, lost Snipe down as well, so Hal gonna have to do what he does best, which is be one of the best solo players in the game. Just knows how to play these situations so well. And with 14 squads remaining, if he can stay alive for another couple of minutes, then he might be able to pick up a couple of placement points inside of that top 10 as well. So lovely Octane skin as well. That's my favorite Octane skin, I've got to say. That's pretty sharp.
It is a good looking one. You're not kidding. Hal's, like you said, just going to hold out and wait to play this and get as many points as he can on the board. We've seen him do it many times before, so expect to see him holding that edge. But taking a look here, actually, it's going to be west side all the way still to the north of the choke, and they're getting gate kept just a bit. And we actually have a move here from Little Phonies going all the way on that northern move as well. And unsurprisingly, I cannot imagine wanting to push through not only CLG and Cruelty, but even more teams at the Ridge choke. So now things at Lava getting a little bit more interesting, with Space Station coming in from the south potentially if they leave the Snake.
Yeah, just looking at where that circle's pulled, I was right. I'm surprised myself. The second beacon completely threw me off, and it has moved back to where those buildings in the dome will be. So I think for CLG, who were holed up in those buildings, again, great zone knowledge from them. But now we're going to see My Little Phony trying to make their way through this choke, and Vibes are going to be trying to play the other side of it. Going to be forced back now by the defensive bombardment coming in from the Gibraltar. And unfortunately for Ak, he's got to be careful because those shots are going to be hitting pretty hard in the back. However, the Caustic ult should slow down the push that's going to be coming in just a few moments. So a little bit of a battle here for this choke. Those shots from the Scout are going to slow things down, but here comes the EMP now from the Crypto.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a 13 there you saw on the northern side, so this could get even more complicated in a moment. We'll have to see how those two teams towards the northern side, how they play this out. There goes the ult though.
Yeah, big ult coming in as well. Mini doing a good job to just slow that team down. Going to give him time to pop a battery, and now the bubble fight might well be going down. It looks like, unfortunately for him, as he moves in, the team decides to back out and use that cover for their own advantage. It's Westside who are now trying to move in, who have moved all the way from Skyhook to try and get involved in this fight. The Thermite going to be going down as well, and Westside just trying to pick off these players who are now going to be jump padding out. It's carnage in this choke. Those alternator shots are pretty sharp coming in from Zera Tricky. Unfortunately, not enough to get the damage to get the down, but so much damage being exchanged in this 30 seconds or so between these three teams.
Absolutely, and interesting to see this late into the rotations, that because of how the ridge looks, teams were actually forced all the way towards this northern part. You wouldn't expect at all times that this stage of the game you'd see a battle in this exact area, but it's just the exact circumstances of how much real estate is already held. The teams are now forced all the way here towards the north.
And Mr. Herculo going to hit nice shots there, 114, and then switches his attention almost instantly with the EVA 8 to do a huge amount of damage, but it's not enough, as it will be the fight ended there almost immediately. And now you have Vibes once again overlooking this, trying to get the third-party opportunity. Unfortunately for them, the armor swaps did come in, which allows the team to rotate away from those shots from the R99, but I mean, excuse me, from the Hemlock. But nervy moments for a lot of teams there, and it just seemed like you couldn't tell who had the advantage in that fight at any point.
Absolutely not, and that's really, at this stage in the game, this is uncommon ground, right? You do not expect to see a fight develop that we just did in that exact composition. With the certain circumstances and parameters. It's like I said, it's just because of what you see on screen. It's because of how tight all of sorting in the ridge is that teams were forced up into that area at a point in the game that you'd have to have a very specific circle like we do here to force those battles. So not surprising to see just how messy it was in the end. That was My Little Phonies taking down Westside, and then Vibes trying to third party off of that, as we still take a look here at the ridge. And unsurprisingly, these teams are just going to hold up and hold down.
Yeah, trying to do what they can just to stay alive in this situation. And CLG, who made that early rotation, like we always talk about, made a great decision to stay inside of one of these 3 buildings. Now we're in prime position as NRG now working their way from edge of zone, trying to get towards that dome building, which is kind of what they would love to call headquarters at this point. But so many different angles being held down by different teams. We have 11 squads still remaining, but 11 squads with 9 eliminated from the lobby. Even though there's going to be teams holding angles, there's not going to be as many teams as maybe they would be used to. So they should be able to somehow find their way in. Those shots from Nathan are going to back that team up, but he's going to be forced to use a battery now and burn through some more of that inventory.
It's actually absolutely perfect timing on that battery to do that damage just as he started to pop the battery to go all the way up to heal up. But gotta applaud NRG's overall rotation here, where they found themselves. They're gonna be really happy to hold this just for now, and they've gotten themselves, like we said, we saw them when we last saw them, they were on that low ground, had just gotten up, so they've made quite a move here towards that north side, as we also still see Saucer, Bowser, and Pow Pow still holding here on the circular building.
Yeah, feeling pretty good about life at the moment inside that circle, just trying to hold those players off inside. And Imperial How is making a desperate attempt to get inside of the circle. And
wow,
I think when we were last with Hal, it was 13 squads remaining. It's now 11, so a couple of extra places up the leaderboard for TSM. As now we see NRG making their move in, and it looks like they want to try and get aggressive onto PB Sandwiches, who are inside of this building. But Bowser and Pow Pow, they're going to swap a bubble for a bubble, and they're going to try and collapse now onto Sweet. But that door's being held, which is going to allow some heals to be exchanged as the batteries pop now by Sorcerer. Now the push coming in, and all of a sudden, NRG make that push in once more. Bowser tries to respond, but NRG in these team fights just look absolutely devastating. Pow Pow now gets 2 and turns it into a 1v1 now. It's Euristo who comes in, and all of this carnage going down just allows Euris to come in, finish things off. But what a fight that was inside Dome.
My goodness, it's a big move that from NRG, like you said, just pushing all the way up. But HRN, you saw them at the top of that ramp, which is such a great place to be in a moment like that. They've got opportunities to take the high ground or the low ground. Now take a look at Hal here, still somehow staying alive, and he gets another kill on the board on Franks.
Pretty sure that Hal just killed at least 2 of Space Station Gaming in that situation. I saw him pop up in the kill feed. I was like, hey, maybe he managed to finish it down. We just seen him clean up another kill there. So somehow, Hal is doing crazy Hal things.
We are going to have
to get... And that's what I've got to say about it.
Yeah, I cannot wait to go back and watch the VOD from several of these teams, but this is certainly one of them to see exactly how that all went down. But a little bit of Horizon Q action there to avoid that ult, as they're going to go ahead and fly right in. That's going to be Vibes, Ak, Mooney, and Voltic getting into the ridge buildings.
The Vibes managed to get on top of this bar here. Managed to hold down that high ground. Remember that Lou is inside that building playing the Gibraltar as well, so the high ground, there's not a lot of cover to work with for them if that bombardment does come in. But you can see from the team tracker now, we're down to our final few teams of what will be the final game for today. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, and we'll hope that you all join us for the final 6 games to decide who will be going through to the finals of the GLL Masters Spring. The HRN once again on the prowl, and it looks like Euris is going to have to back up from this situation, use the grapple to get away. Maybe just realize he'd been out in the open for a few seconds too many there and didn't want to take any unnecessary damage.
Only there with only 2 bars of red, scouting just a bit there, getting a little risky, but does decide to get a little more conservative and then backs down to get that full bat off. Also taking a look at Cruelty Team, a team that has been set up in the ridge since the beginning of this match. They were really one of the first teams along with CLG to hold up in these buildings, and they're going to continue to hold this position.
They're going to hold for now, but they're going to have to move forward as well. You can see it's only going to be the bar and the Dorito building that are involved as far as structurally sound places to call home are concerned. HRN now making their move as well onto the backside of this cliff face that you see in front of you. And once again, Yuri showing the importance of the Pathfinder as well. But unfortunately for Yuri, he just got stuck as well. And now TC trying to make their move in. Team Cruelty going to be able to finish off Hill here, surely. Arcan trying to do what he can to support from above. And Hill actually managed to turn that situation around. So HRN, even though things were looking bad for them, they win the fight.
Oh my goodness, this is amazing stuff. And you saw that Euris had to absolutely just fly right out of there because he knew he was stuck, had to fly out of the bubble. He will go down. Now here we are with CLG, 4 squads left.
CLG trying to look for that third-party opportunity once more. HRN now in a little bit of a strange position that they're trying to force their way out of. They do have the caustic to play with, though, so they're going to have a little bit of cover. They also have the Gibraltar, so barrels or dome, pick your poison. as Madness can't get the opportunity to finish off any of those kills. He's going to keep controlling as much real estate as he can, though. And this is what we saw CLG do so well a little bit earlier in one of those games they won, Andy. Just controlling as much of the zone as possible. You can see 2 players inside of Dorito, still Madness up on this high ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Madness was kind of scouting there, but he actually backs down, and it's good timing that he actually cues out, because instead you've got HRN pushing up right now, and certainly that would have been a lot of trouble for Madness. Maybe you heard those footsteps, but maybe he just came back. But here he is in the building. HRN is going to now have that height as well, as we take a look back at Vibes, who has the roof of that westernmost building.
And HRN managed to get Urice back up as well, even though he got stuck and he got knocked and seemed to be in all sorts of problems. And now back up to a full 3-man. So great job from HRN to find themselves in this position. And Urice once again just showing the power of the Pathfinder as well. And
you
now
have to
once again that bit of quiet, Andy, before we know things are about to kick off.
Absolutely. You have to think that HRN, I was actually going to say that HRN's not going to fly in. Instead, they go fly in right to the bottom. Not sure if they had an opener that warranted it, but they're going to now go ahead and heal up outside and get right into this. And CLG is now the only outside team.
Oh, that's a beautiful thermite, though. You can see the hill is taking so much damage. Urice somehow manages to get a knock, and this is just going to create an opening for CLG to move in when all these knocks are going down. 4 squads still remaining, but it's only for a moment. Mooney trying to get the armor swap off, and somehow does so as well. And surely CLG now are going to sense this opportunity as Mooney trying to hit some massive shots, and does so to finish off hill. We're down to 3 squads. CLG, Vibes, and I'm pretty sure the Imperial How is still alive somewhere.
No, I think we lost Hal. I think we saw just a blip. He was at the bottom of the building, and I do believe we lost him. We'll have to get confirmation. But I think we were on OBS while that might have been in the kill feed. But now here we are, Vibes still holding that rooftop. Yes, indeed, we did lose Hal. You might have caught it just at a quick moment. He was outside these buildings, though. He did make it all the way to the ridge. He eventually got wiped out, I think, from height. But in the end, CLG holds their building. They don't push that advantage earlier, but here they are now on the aggressive.
Yeah, look at this aggro coming in from CLG as well. They want to try and get as much damage as possible. They want to see if they can finish off this game right here, right now. Madness and Vaxel on the last 2 alive, as there are 2 other squads remaining. Only 11 when the Mastiff isn't going to get it done, but he jumps into the void here, Madness, which might get him top 2. It has got him top 2, and now Madness jumps back in, but it will be Vibes who take home your game number 6 and the final game of the day. But once again, I think the story, to be honest with you, is more about CLG once again showing their dominance to the lobby. That's their 3rd top 2 position in today's games. I mean, incredibly consistent from them.
It really is, and they played it once again so patient. And it feels like the teams that we're talking about after each game are the teams that did play each game much more patient, and that's what we're seeing with you know, Apex Legends here in North America. It really has been a game that has come back around. It's less about just trying to fly in and get KP, and it's become, you know, still all about that positioning here, and that's what we just saw from them as we take a look at our highlights from that 6th game. But how early did we see CLG holding up in their buildings? And they stayed there until the very last moment of the match. They were very comfortable. They knew that that position was exactly where they wanted to be. They avoided all of the chaos. In fact, by holding the ridge so well, they caused all the chaos at the north of that central lava choke. And they played that so calm and so cool, and then they held their building. And I want to point out, Onset, as we take a look at this battle that happened there between Cruelty and HRN, CLG held the whole time. They did not get tempted by the third parties. Even when HRN went for this crazy maneuver straight to the bottom of these buildings to fight from that low ground, CLG still kept disciplined, and they held their building, which was pretty impressive to see.
Yeah, they're so disciplined, but also so aware of the map situation. I think that's one thing that really stands out for me. Madness jumping into the void there, managing to get into 2nd place when things were looking like it might be a 3rd place finish for CLG. But even, you know, towards the end of that game as well, where we saw, you know, Madness using his ability as a Wraith to get out and hold down as much room, as much area, I should say, as possible on the team that was below. HRN had just finished that fight. He immediately moved across to try and get some extra KP on the board. He's such a good player when it comes to recognizing what is safe and what isn't, and what he can, how far he can extend as Wraith, and how far he has to, you know, think about when he has to come back as well. He's very, very good at recognizing the limitations that he has on the legend that he played so well.
Yeah, that example that you had where he was just peeking over to see what HRN was up to, and he was kind of just gatekeeping a little bit of that height. The fact that he was able to queue back right away, it just felt like you said, a 6th sense as a Wraith to know exactly when to time that was so perfect. But CLG looking so strong. Can't wait to see what they do tomorrow. But also want to give credit, of course, to Vibes there. A little bit of a dark horse team in this semifinal. Able to take that 6th game. That's going to be a nice momentum boost for them as well.
Yeah, 6th game, that's going to be 12 points for first, but also they had some KP to go alongside it. And we know how tight the lobby is. So that's going to potentially give them a very nice night's sleep in comparison to where they might have been a few moments ago. So
yeah,
a great performance in that final game, certainly going to give them something to reflect on tonight. But speaking of things to reflect on, I mean, we talked about how this lobby is stacked, right? We've got some of the biggest teams in North America and worldwide, Apex Legends in here. Who has impressed you today? We've talked about CLG a little bit, but let's talk about some of the other teams that stood out for you.
Sure, yeah, it's got to be bottom 20. I think the way that they showed up today to be 2nd place coming into game number 6 is a huge statement across those first 5 games. Definitely the team that comes to mind in the beginning. Like I said, Vayne, Scurry, Onmu, not players that we're unfamiliar with, but as a unit, they seem to really be performing. I would also say the fact that the TSM, NRG, and CLG are playing to the level that they're playing, I think we are expecting big things out of all of them. But like you said earlier on set, the level of play that we're seeing from them and the shot calling and the decision making seems to really be on point at different moments for these teams. And when they're firing on all cylinders.
I think that's one thing that always stands out to me is I always get to the end of a tournament or like, how could this get any better? You know, how could these teams improve anymore? And it just seems like every single time it's like, wow, they've managed to find another way to impress me. It really is fascinating to watch. We do have the scores ready though, so let's take a look at what happened in that final game and see who managed to rack up the points. Of course, it was Vibes who managed to take home that game in dominating fashion as well. 9 kills on the board for them, 21 points. Count Logic Gaming just in behind them, but I mean, that's a stunning performance. And TSM, those KP added up, Andy, as they take home 3rd place.
I mean, for Hal to stay alive as long as he did, I'm with you. I'm curious how many kills he got from that when Space Station was fleeing sorting and trying to get out of there. I'm curious how many kills he got. It sounded like at least 2. But for them to sneak a 3rd place 9 kill out of that speaks to what that team is capable of. I also want to say we talk a lot about Hal, but of course Reps and Snipe Down absolutely playing so well today too. What that team is capable of in dire circumstances is scary. For that to be a 3rd place 9 kill matches is crazy for them. So amazing stuff from them. But we'll of course also take a look now at our overalls after 6 games.
Well, TSM, you've been talking about them, and that's quite right that you have been as well. As you can see, top of the leaderboard, top of the kills, top of the pile after 6 games are done. But they've got to come back and do it tomorrow. Of course, it is 12 games this quarterfinal. We're only halfway through. CLG incredibly consistent today as well. The difference has been those kills though, as they are just in behind on 68 points. HRN, big day from them as well. 58 points, and bottom 20, the team that you were talking about, 54. NRG with 52 just in behind them. Sentinels just inside of that top 10 as well, which is, I mean, maybe not where they want to be inside that top 10. Of course, you want to just get to the final, but they had a few games where things really didn't go their way. They had 1-2 points on the board, went out early, but then they had some really big games. It's that consistency I think that's just missing from Sentinels.
Absolutely, and it's going to be so interesting tomorrow because we have Sentinels, Cruelty, Peanut Butter Sandwiches, Space Station, and more. Even Lonely Fans, all these teams that are on the bubble that are within spitting distance here. Especially if you look at really that 8th through 11th, only being a 3-point difference. The bubble's already looking good for tomorrow, and I think it's going to get even spicier. So I can't wait to see how all of this nets out. It has really been a great day 1.
It has been, and it's absolutely flown by. It's been an absolute pleasure to call the action with you. And of course, it is not just this semi-final that's going on as well that we've been following. There is another semi-final running at the same time, and it's Team KSZ who end up on top after 6 games. 68 points on the board for them. Season in behind on 62. Complexity on 4th. Team Liquid in there. I mean, the standout for me as far as maybe not having a good day is Solar Fide. 24 points for them, down in 14th, Andy.
After the winter circuit performance that they had overall, definitely not where you expect them to be. Right now, 9 points off of 10th after 6th game. So, of course, possible for them to rally back, but they are going to need a very different day. And keep in mind, they're going to be playing against a very, very hungry lobby with the amount of teams that are on that left side. So they will need to definitely step it up for tomorrow. But I would say the most improved goes to Season to go from 20th, 2nd over the course of only 2 scoreboard checks.
Yeah, very impressive stuff coming in from Season. They're going to want to solidify their place tomorrow in that final 6 games. Of course, all these teams find it out for the opportunity to get into the grand finals, where we have a 20-team lobby and a lot of money up for grabs as well. I mean, what a day it's been, Andy. I mean, what's the standout play from you that you can bring from the front of your brain that sticks out as far as something that impressed you?
Yeah, I'd have to say the NRG all-in simultaneous feet, boots on the ground, or boots on the rooftop rather, coming in from the Lava City Cave from the west, timing that. Just the patience that we saw from them. We got to see it in a really good kind of third-person obs view. They truly hit that jump pad all together, just ready to mop up that carnage on the rooftop, and they made it look easy. And I think it's plays like that from teams, the amount of variety that we're now seeing with a little bit more legend variety means that teams that are all on the same page. You talked about it a lot during the winter circuit playoffs, but teams that are on the same page, and I don't just mean strategically, and I don't even mean just on the same shot call. I mean teams that are on the same page, just looking at each other and being in lockstep with each other. It's moments like that where they're not even allowing opportunities to get third party there because they're so efficient and clean in their wipe that they don't even really have to reset. And it's plays like that that really stick out for me.
I agree with you. I think that was an incredible play. Mine would have to be one team having 3 Krabers in their hands. I don't care if the shots weren't hit. It doesn't matter to me. The fact that one team had 3 Krabers, that's all that is really important to me. But I mean, for tomorrow, I think there's a couple of teams who need to step up. What team do you think needs to be that one team who really has a market improvement for day one?
Let's see. I think it's Space Station, and I say that not only due to their performance today. I think there's a lot of teams on that bubble, peanut butter sandwiches, etc. But I think it's Space Station because I think they're the team that has the highest amount of skill that did not hit their potential today. I think, coming off of their performance 10th place at the Winter Circuit playoffs, they're looking for even better than that. But if you look at the 3 names on that squad, these are players that are capable of really great stuff. And the reason I say that they're the team to watch is because I think they actually have the highest skill ceiling relative to how they played today. I think we can see some big stuff from them if they really turn it on.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to bring you the first 6 games of the semifinals for North America today. We'll be back tomorrow as well to bring you the second 6 games and wrap up what will be a semifinal process. We'll know who our 20 teams are who'll be moving through to the final. Andy, absolute pleasure as always to cast alongside you. For everyone who's been watching tonight, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow for more Apex Legends.